All right, everyone. Welcome back to the game art test. Today, this is sesh 2, so earlier today I did about a 4-hour run. And yeah, so what we're going to do is we are going to do some line work and some, and separate all this out and get it going, making it look, consistent with the arm that we have here, at least some type of same line work or same holes or something, just to make sure that it makes sense. And then after that, we're going to go through here with the topology brush, and we're going to model out some of these pieces right here. So feel free to ask some questions. Feel free to, make some jokes. It's all up to you, what you want to do. I'm going to be listening to the Joe Rogan podcast while at work. And, yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. All you guys are fucking awesome.
You know what I'm saying? Be dad. You know what I'm saying?
To knuckle up.
And he's not Theo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. He's a real kid.
He's a real kid,
Yeah.
man. He's like what most people are dealing with.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
right.
But he's funny, you know? So that's it. So if you mix the two, think about Night Court and that blended together, that's what the gist of the show is. It's gonna be me and Night Court. It's gonna be funny stuff in the courtroom scenes or whatever. But it's gonna be mainly about me and my relationship with my adopted son.
I hope you look into Judge Mathis as your inspiration, because I love Judge Mathis.
Judge Mathis is raw, man.
Fucking bomb.
Judge Mathis is raw.
Isn't it weird how we like watching other people go to court?
Raw.
It's like watching
How weird is that, man? We like watching other people go to court.
Other people.
We like other people to be up there and go, oh, you're fucked now, dude.
Ooh, I can't believe he said
This
that.
motherfucker doesn't even have receipts.
You're right. No receipt. Why'd you even come, sir?
Shut up.
Why do we like that? Why do we like seeing other people fuck up?
Yeah. I think
know,
it keeps
man.
us on your
It teaches
on my
me.
toes.
I think it's just a nice distraction. You concentrate on their problems so you don't have to think about your own. You've got some new thing to occupy your mind.
This is true.
I consider Judge Mathis like school, though. Like, it teaches me what not to do, just like I do with cops.
what does it teach you not
First
to do?
48, like if I were to murder somebody, like I know not to do this and that. It's like it's just
Judge Mathis has bagging skills, so that's why I like it.
Yeah, Judge Mathis.
He has professional bagging skills. I wouldn't start no type of.
He can shut you down. He's quick-witted.
He's quick-witted, and he says some bone-crushing shit, man. I'm telling you, I was in a radio station with him. I'm not going to run his jokes back, but he really tore that. What was that DJ's name?
I don't know.
That guy started it. He came in and started. He thought he had two, schleps in the room. First he started with Paul. He didn't know Paul was a comedian. And
he freeze.
And he made freeze. He actually freeze after about 10 minutes. He said, "Hey, are you a professional comedian?" Because the room was like glasses were knocked over and everything. People were laughing at him. He came in the room and started it and got blowed out.
He looked like a tall Gary Coleman.
Right. And that's what Freeze stuck to that whole theme, the Gary Coleman theme. This dude was about this tall. Looked just like Gary. Ripped him in the room, and then we went into the booth, the actual room to do the interview. Judge Mathis is in there. So the guy just finished getting embarrassed by Freeze. He wants to redeem himself. He says something to Judge Mathis. And then Judge Mathis took it to the next level. It was like they played relay race with that guy.
Like ping pong with him.
He had him. He Freeze handing him off to Judge Mathis.
And what did Judge Mathis say?
Destroyed him. He destroyed him.
What did he say?
He said, first of all, you climb up out of that hole when you talk to me. That's what he told the dude.
Wow.
I mean, the dude was
Imagine a judge talking shit to you.
And at one point, my man said something about downtown LA.
Oh yeah, he said
something about transvestites, and the dude said, "Yeah, Judge Mathis, I know you want to go down there and see all them transvestites." Judge Mathis said, "Yeah, I do want to go down there so I could watch you stand up and suck dick." And this dude was like real short.
The judge said that?
Judge Mathis.
Judge
That's
Mathis.
the same Judge
Are you
Mathis.
throwing him under the bus right now?
Hard, son.
Yeah.
Is this information that could
he's
get him?
he's real, man.
Judge Mathis is real,
man.
man.
Is he real?
Crushed them.
Prison and shit. That dude's awesome.
Should we,
love
But to
Judge
tell a short dude so I could watch you stand up and suck
That's
dick, that
fucking
was where the brilliance was. Okay, don't get it twisted. That's what made me go. Judge Mathis is the real deal.
Yeah.
He
I'll
hit
see
this
you later,
dude so
Lordy.
hard, man. The dude shut
Thanks
up.
for watching,
The
man.
rest of the interview, he was scared to talk, man. He was scared to ask questions.
He would
We
kidnap
was
Judge
interviewing
Judy.
ourselves after that.
Great moments in criminal history.
True Hollywood stories with Judge Mathis.
I love Judge.
I could watch you
I'm supposed
stand
to.
up and.
Tommy, I'm supposed to ask you about Johnny Gill, who thought he could beat Oscar De La Hoya.
Oh yeah, man. You know, wow. How do you know
Somebody
about that?
told me. that.
Wow. How'd you know about that one, man?
I think it was Tom Segura told me that.
That was one of the days when that's back when Oscar was still, fighting too. That's what made me really angry. Like Oscar was whipping somebody's ass, and I'm sitting next to a balladeer. I respect you. You're a good singer and all that, but don't point to no fighter and go, I could whip him. I don't want to hear that, man.
He really said that?
Vehemently, man. It jumped up. I'm the fact that you brought it up. It ain't like I'm snitching. I told him, if I ever see you and Oscar in the same room, making sure that Oscar knows that you feel that way. I want to be there. I'm making sure he knows that you, a balladeer, crooner, said that you could whip him. Yeah, man. To me, that was the highest insults of the highest level, man. You make your money with roses flying in the air and all that, singing. You gonna look at a fighter and talk about I could whip him? Come on, man.
Wow.
He needs to know that. He needs to know you feel that way. I did it with Mike Tyson. When Rough House used to talk shit. Oh yeah, blah, 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 do this and that to Mike, blah, 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 blah. So one day we were all together and I said, Mike, this dude told me whip your ass, man. He tells me all the time. Why don't you tell Mike what you be telling me?
Wow.
Watched him turn into Kool-Aid in his chair.
What did he say, Mike?
He didn't say nothing to
I
Mike,
meant
man.
the other
That's
Mike
like
Tyson.
He didn't say
man.
nothing
Being
to Mike.
alone
That was
in
my
a
whole
room.
point. I mean, you probably have encountered it before. I've been in the hood. I've been in the barbershop sometime, and I got to tell folks, man, they be like, yo, man, because Mike, Mike nothing, man. What do you work for UPS, right? Don't bring up Mike's name, son. Stop it. Bring up another truck driver. Because I'll take you out of Gleason's right now and pick out any heavyweight, somebody who you've never seen on TV, and he'll make you call him the greatest. Stop it, man. You're not a fighter. You don't do what this guy does. Respect what he does. That's like him jumping behind the wheel of your truck and trying to beat you on your route. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to park this 18.
It's not going to happen, man.
Thing where dudes get delusional about their ability to kick ass. It's a
Yeah,
weird
Johnny
thing,
Gill, he
man.
really thought back in the day, I don't know, maybe he's more
But
mature
what did he
now.
think? He just think that
He felt
Oscar
that
De La Hoya was getting
he could
lucky?
beat Oscar. He felt he was more powerful, faster. I was like, but you never boxed before. That's nothing to do with it. I'm talking about being a man. I was like,
What?
what do you think they're doing, man? What are you talking about, man? You're supposed to fighting, man.
Charlie.
Talking about being a man. These boys are trying to knock each other's heads off.
Talking about being a man. That's a dude that doesn't understand what an 8-week camp is like. An 8-week
Now,
training
he was buffed. At that
running up
time,
the
that's
Big
when he was.
Bear.
I think he was working out with Barry Bonds, and he had a little cut on and everything. I was like, those muscles don't translate to a win, brother.
People
It
get
translates to best in show at a bodybuilding contest. Not that you're going to win the fight. And if you look at real fighters, they don't have the chiseled body like G.I. Joe. You know what I'm saying?
Look at Anderson Silva.
Yeah, look at his body, look normal, man.
Yeah.
And look what happens when those dudes come in with the G.I. Joe kick.
The classic ballet stand.
The problem with all that muscle is it needs fuel.
Yeah.
You gotta feed that. So you're only good for about 30 seconds, 20 seconds. A full fury when you're all big like that. A guy can hang on to you. It's like riding a bull, but the bull's
you
like
burn
that
out.
real bad endurance.
Then you burn out.
You just ride
You
them
got
until they
big
wear themselves
buff
out.
arms, they fill up with blood.
Yeah. Then they can't move.
They get heavy.
It's crazy. You watch, like, there's a guy named Mariusz Pudzianowski, world's strongest man, does those crazy fucking things where they throw the beer bottles in the air and lift up cars and shit. That strongman shit. He's won it a bunch of times. And he just started doing MMA, and he gets fucked up by fat dudes.
He's not throwing the big keg. He's throwing something with punches and kicks coming off.
Tim Sylvia beat the fuck out of that boy.
Oh, wow.
He had that dude purple. That guy was purple as fuck.
Exactly.
Tim Sylvia was like, how dare you? I was a fucking 2-time heavyweight champion, or more, maybe. I don't know. Either way, he's a fucking world UFC heavyweight champion. Right. And you think that you can pick up a car so you can kick his ass? It was like a slow, methodical ass kicking by an overweight guy, essentially. The guy with a big gut.
The car's not moving. The car's not, doing techniques on you.
But if they can get you in those first 15 seconds, you could have a real big fucking problem. Because for 15 seconds,
those guys get street people, like
Yeah.
That guy who could throw a car goes to the supermarket and you get an argument with him. He could probably throw you, across the meat section and break your back or something. You won't expect it. Wow, this guy flew me across the meat section. But you ain't an MMA fighter. You ain't a boxer. You ain't whatever. Any kind of professional athlete, whatever profession he's in, respect it. Don't disrespect.
Now you're thinking
straight up.
Now you got me thinking about fights in supermarkets.
Yeah.
Dude, man. There's no weight classes in supermarkets.
No weight.
I remember a few years ago, this dude was talking about jumping on. Was one of the running backs. And I asked him, they were the same size physically. I was like, you really think you could beat that guy? He's like, we're the same size. I said, yeah, but I've seen him run over 5 guys his size. I never seen you run over nothing. You have a hard time going up the steps. You mess with this boy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're the same size, but you ain't the same thing, man. Come on.
Yeah, people don't understand a super athlete.
Yeah,
they don't understand until.
That's why we have the ability to buck our eyes to express that. To express that when you get surprised, oh shit!
Oh my god!
I didn't mean it.
I wasn't practicing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't hang out with dudes that talk shit.
Nope.
Talk shit about how they'd fight Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
those guys are useless.
But now, and then I'm telling you, if you come around me and you talking about who you could whip, because a lot of my friends are fighters, and I see them in the room, I'm just letting them know how you feel. That's how I roll.
That was the funniest fucking
let them
moment.
know how you feel.
It was me, Brad Blackburn, Maurice Smith, and one other, Ivan Salivary. All UFC fighters or kickboxers, and we're all out at a restaurant, and Charlie is convincing everybody that the ridge hand, that y'all are sleeping on the ridge hand. And he was talking about the Chicago ridge hand, the different types of ridge hands, and they were laughing. They were trying to say, yeah, like you can't. But Charlie stuck to his fucking guns.
You know who used the ridge hand was the Iceman in one of the very first UFC joints. My man Chuck Liddell knocked out Yarborough with a ridge hand.
Chuck Liddell never fought Yarborough. He fought
some big giant dude.
Keith Hackney fought Yarborough.
And I was like, yo.
Yeah, he did though. He hit him.
Hand.
Yeah, well, he hit him with like an open palm strike to the head too. He hit him with a bunch of different things, but he definitely.
And I was like, yo. But I would never use a ridge hand.
See, open palm strike. That even sounds like it's just gonna.
Yo, but listen though, your head. Who just executed a beautiful open palm strike? National television. We all give her a round of applause right now. The wife of Rupert Murdoch. Let's give her a round of applause. Rupert Murdoch's wife, man. You just see the press conference when Rupert Murdoch was getting interviewed, and this dude tried to come in with the pie and hit him from the side, and his wife came out with the open hand palm strike and broke his nose, man.
Whoa.
His wife is young. She's not old like him. She's like in her 30s, man.
Look at him.
She didn't even hesitate.
30-year-old pizza ass.
They showed the dude on the elevator with a Band-Aid on his nose and shit.
Break noses for him.
Wow. Broke his nose, man.
Rupert Murdoch, despite of all his evil intentions,
and she's beautiful,
and she's hot. He's a bad motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that guy's got a lot of power in this world.
And a beautiful wife that could kick your ass, man.
That's incredible.
I mean, that's what you can say you got it all. When you can tell your wife, "Hey, go take care of that guy." She comes over, you can tell she knows martial arts by the way she went straight with the open palm here, straight, right to the nose. Man.
She beat you up with yoga.
Nah, she came with it, man.
What an old school move though, hitting somebody with a pie.
Yeah, shaving cream.
We were talking. I mean, what was so funny about the whole thing is, not long before that, we were just talking. We were like, "What is the defense with that?" Charlie's like,
Ask Joe first.
Okay, let's ask
If you was doing something live and somebody did that to you, would you laugh it off?
It really depends. It depends on if I felt malice from them, if I felt like they hated me, if I felt like, you know, they were lashing
They
out.
trying to embarrass you.
Yeah, but people try to embarrass people just because they're idiots and they want attention. It would all depend entirely on the moment. But I would hope that I wouldn't do anything stupid.
All right, so I said my answer was I would whip the person's ass, right? And then
That's something stupid.
This is what he pointed out that was funny. He said, but you have to remember this, Charlie. Once the pie is on your face, whatever you do after that, you're doing it with pie on your face. It makes it instant comedy. If you whip the guy's ass all over the room, you got pie.
You did it with pie on your face.
To me, it would depend on the pie.
So the
Yeah,
best
it
thing
could be
to do
delicious
Yeah,
pie.
it was like,
Maybe-
what? Is that lemon meringue? Fuck yeah. Thank you, sir.
Are you going to get
Yeah,
hit in the face with
changed
lemon
my view. I
meringue
was
pie,
like,
son? It's going to happen.
I was like,
now.
I'll whip your ass. Like, you know, you'll be fighting with pie on your face. I was like,
You'll be
Well,
angry.
just like there's a lot of
angry with pie on your face.
Just like there's a lot of dummies that will look at a guy like Mike Tyson and really think that they can kick his ass. There are people that look at a guy like you, like on stage, and they get upset at you for some reason. They get upset at you for getting that attention. They get upset.
Oh
at you.
yeah. But then you know
they
what?
feel like they should be getting what you have.
I thank God that every time one of them have stepped up, I had a baseball bat of jokes. You know, my reaction was always right on time, laser sharp, and they was burnt out of the audience like a cigarette. But you know, and he's been in the witness, and I've been in the witness you doing it. I think you're one of the best I've ever seen do it. You inspired me when I seen the how deep you took it. I was like, well, I could go much harder than I've been going. Joe is telling this person, man, wow. You know what I'm saying? I see you evaporate people. So that told me that it's something that you definitely got to have as part of your game. If you're gonna be standing up on the stage talking to people, you have to have the ability to do that. If it comes up, you got to shoot them down and keep it moving. You can't be haggling with them, and because that's gonna break the whole continuity of the show up. The guys that can just hit them with the hammer and keep it moving are the best, man.
It's an unfortunate side effect of comedy, but we started out, Freeze and I were fucking Comedy Store veterans, man, and that was a place that nobody patrolled. There was no manager shushing the room. The Comedy Store was run by the guy on stage, and occasionally dudes got kicked out because the comic would go, just get these fucking people out of here. God damn. It would get to the point where it was just, you had to kick them out before the show couldn't go on. But there was always something there. That place is always drama. I've had glasses thrown at me on stage there. I've seen. Remember when Holtzman got knocked out by Martin Lawrence's bodyguard?
We were just talking about that.
God damn, that place was chaos.
I remember. I remember Eddie Griffin. We were in the main room. We had a show. It was Martin Luther King's birthday, and after the show. This was when a DJ came on. This is the first time I heard the song No Vaseline.
Right.
Ice. You remember that?
Yeah.
And the DJ played it, and Dr. Dre and all of the Dog Pound. And
it was about Dr. Dre.
Yeah, they were all there, and Dre went up on stage and snatched the record off the turntable and snapped it in half. And that kicked off a riot. Tretch was in there. Tupac was in there. Tretch had that big chain with the padlock on it. He was swinging that over his head.
Oh, my God.
All of this went on in the May room on Martin Luther King's birthday.
Wow.
I remember that.
Holy shit.
Remember I seen
that place was fucking crazy, man.
His last wife, Flynn. Yeah. Richard Pryor's last wife.
Oh, yeah,
Flynn.
yeah.
I seen the wettest woman out there. Boy,
at the Comedy Store?
Comedy Store. I was in the parking lot. Richard Pryor was performing that night, and she was standing by the back door, and this other chick came around, was getting ready to come up. And they knew each other, obviously. She said to that other chick, didn't I tell you not to come to no more of Richard's shows? Every time she hit another piece of jewelry came off. So when she got finished, all of this woman's rings and necklaces and everything and her wig was laying on the floor.
Wow.
And they was dragging her away, man. And then Richard Pryor went on stage and did 20 minutes on what just happened. Classic, son. Took it straight to the stage.
He went right on the stage
Took it
with
straight
it?
to the stage.
Oh, man. What year was this?
That had to be in the 80s, man. You're like 89, 90, something like that.
Could you imagine if you fucking videotaped
It's
that?
a long time ago.
Can you imagine if you had a
No one was
videotape of that?
expecting that. That was like on the moment. She said, didn't I tell you not to come to no more of the Richard shows? Pop, 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 pop. Just started firing on it, man.
How beautiful would that video be? To watch that, watch the ass kicking, to
Ass
Pryor
kick.
walking on stage, to
Just
Pryor
everything,
talking about
yeah.
the ass kicking.
It went
The
all
pre-show, you
Yeah.
don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
I
He went
performed
there, did
with
20 minutes on what just happened outside.
I performed with Richard Pryor for a few weeks, right at the end, right when he stopped performing, when he was in a wheelchair. Remember they used to carry him
we
on
used to
stage.
Come on in the OR room. I remember that.
I had to go on after him for weeks when he did that. I was the always spot Mitzi always gave me right after Richard Pryor.
When you go on after Richard Joe.
And you would eat dick like no other time. Like,
Yeah, because it wasn't. It was sad. It was sad watching Richard. You know, I mean, it was cool because once Richard would open his mouth, it was him.
Right.
I mean, you know, you could tell that he's, and then it was a weird effect because you'd be like, oh, yo, he's still there. He's still in there.
Right.
But then you would be like, wait a minute, he's in there. That's his body now, and that's what he's kind of. It seemed like he was more in prison after you heard him do stand-up, because it was a realization like this is a man who has his wits but does not have his motor skills and his functions, his bodily functions to match up with his wit.
Right.
And that just was, even though he was funny, even though he was sharp, it was sad. It was
Yeah, it seemed to me like there was a disconnect too towards the end. I don't think he was completely lucid. So when he would go on stage and talk about things, like they didn't always make sense, and
Right.
you know, he was dying, you know, and he would get this huge round of applause when he got off stage, where people just would say, you know, hey man, when you look at him right now, man, there's not much time left, and this is one of the greatest comedians, maybe the greatest comedian to ever walk the face of the planet.
Right.
The most influential, I think, of all time. And you're watching them as they're carrying him away, and then they introduce you. Jeff Richard gets on the piano. Ladies and gentlemen,
Joe Rogan
from Hardball on Fox TV, please welcome Joe Rogan. And you go on stage and you have to do stand-up after Richard, and it takes at least 4 or 5 minutes to get him out of the room, because they're walking with him out of the room. They have to, because he can't really walk, so they have to carry him and walk with him really slowly, and everybody's clapping and standing, you know, like a war veteran just got off stage, you know.
That's
That's who did just get off stage.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's a good one. Yeah,
Definitely, man.
yeah.
I've seen that type of you know, that working spirit in other artists too, like Sammy Davis Jr. The last film he ever did was the Kid Who Loves Christmas, and I would happen to be in that movie, and that's when he was dying, and I wouldn't came to work, but he was there every day. You know,
wow.
He died like a week or two after we finished shooting. He was advanced cancer, but he just coming to work anyway, man.
Well, it's how Patrick Swayze did it too, right?
Just coming to work anyway.
Yeah, I guess why not? Fuck it, just go out doing what you like doing.
You think that's what Steve Jobs is doing? Do you think that's why he stepped down today?
Yeah, do you know that Steve Jobs stepped down from Apple today? Yeah.
I hope it doesn't change. Like,
Well, I don't know, man. Dude has he had pancreatic cancer, didn't he, or liver cancer?
I think
something crazy. He had to get a liver transplant from fighting the cancer. Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, but
the liver got fucked up from the chemo or something.
You think he would Magic Johnson that shit like quickly, like just, you know, he'd pay for it and it'd be done.
What do you think he could do?
You know, like he just has all the money in the world. You think there would be, you know, that's just kind of to show you that there really isn't any help for cancer.
Well,
you know, you can fix AIDS, but cancer, you can't stop it, no matter how much money you have.
I think some people have a genetic inclination.
Thing,
they can just get it. They just have a bad genetics. They're most likely going to die of cancer young. That's very possible. But there's also a thing to be said for a guy who works as hard as Steve Jobs. That shit is just not healthy. You know, you're hitting that red line all the time.
That's true.
Your fucking engine is constantly going, man. And I don't think that's healthy.
Oh no, it's not.
So it can't be. It can't be. It's not fun. If it's not fun, it's not healthy. You know, it's that simple, dude. You're a billionaire, son.
Man, and it's like, yo, you have done it.
Yeah,
dude. You can
really
relax.
You really can
Eat some cookies, watch some TV.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he's got to eat like oatmeal cookies with like maple sugar.
Hey.
He's got like some serious issues with his health.
Wow.
He's pretty fucked up. I don't know how much of that's genetic. I don't know about that argument. How much is genetic, how much of it is.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with diet, man. Genetics, diet, all that.
Yeah, and it's also
and stress in your environment.
Stress. A lot of executives, like Hollywood executives, a lot of those older guys, they start getting really sick, and I think that's a lot of it is just the pressure. I knew this one guy, he used to work for my ex-girlfriend, or my ex-girlfriend used to work for him, rather. Real nice guy. Just 50 years old. Had cancer, out of nowhere. And he was dead within weeks. And it was just the weirdest thing ever. He just seemed like this nice guy. Like, hey, Bob, what's going on? Nice to see you. He's always laughing and joking around. And then, boom, whatever it was, just hit him quick.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, he's gone.
They killed my father and my wife. Wow. And with both of them, it was like, they got sick. They went to the doctor. They was diagnosed. They went into treatment, and they passed away.
Oh, my gosh.
It wasn't like, it was a long battle, Yeah, man. And with both of them, like, my dad, he smoked. But when he was young, he was an athlete, right? My wife didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, that worked out, drank water every day, didn't eat meat.
Wow.
None of that. But still, she passed away before she was 40. It was diagnosed 6 months after my daughter was born. Because we wouldn't have to keep going for follow-up checkups. Then, boom, you got cancer. Yeah, man. So it's very deadly, and its origins are a mystery. Because it could be what you eat. It could be it's in your family. Or it could just be you or your personality. You're a very tense person, and you create it within yourself, man. It's deep. Very scary disease, man.
Yeah, imbalance is a frightening thing when it comes to your health. When it really could be terminal. Like you could have terminal imbalance. You could get your whole system so fucked up from thinking the wrong way, doing the wrong way, eating the wrong way, treating your body like shit, treating people like shit, and then next thing you know it.
Holding on to anger,
holding grudges,
all of that kind of stuff, holding grudges, all of that stuff it has to manifest some way.
Resolving a grudge is one of the best feelings ever. When you're cool with somebody, when you weren't cool with them, and then all of a sudden you're cool with them, it's a nice feeling. It's a good, as a human being, it's like a good feeling. That's
almost definitely.
Yeah, but keeping one and just thinking about this motherfucker, if I see this, just holding on to shit like that, going over fake arguments in your head. If he says this, I'm gonna say that. Right. What if he does this?
For a long time in my life, I had to learn that don't keep grudges. Don't dwell on negative. I had to learn it.
And you want to be hard. You want to tell them to fuck themselves for life, bitch.
I was reading on Twitter.
For life.
I was reading on Twitter the other day, and somebody quoted a tweet a quote from Mandela, and he said, "Resentment is like drinking a bottle of poison to kill your enemy."
Whoa, that's deep.
That is deep.
It is true too. Yeah, it's almost like, you got to figure out a way to make people that you hate, people that annoy you, people that only become a source of positivity to you.
Right.
Figure out a way to, no matter how cunty somebody gets with you, never let it affect you. Only take it as a source of inspiration.
You know what's made me better with that? Right. Twitter. It's made me better with that.
Because there's constantly assholes.
Remember how many times I jumped on Twitter?
You can't see and you can't wrap your hands around it.
Go through dive through the
Does
machine.
that drive you nuts when people talk shit to you?
Yeah, man. I've gotten into it with a few people. Then I realized you're making a fool of yourself going back and forth with this person, man. They're probably playing right now.
Of course
they got
they are.
you lit up.
Oh,
And the other thing, like you said, you explained to me, you said, yo, don't forget. Look, somebody says some real smart alecky or some bullshit to you, and then you look and they got like 7 followers, but you retweeted what they said and what you're gonna do to them.
Now 100,000 people's reading it.
Now 100,000 people of your fans are reading it. Know this person.
Now they want to know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? The best thing to do is just don't even respond. Man.
Yeah, you can't.
Block.
You can't. Yeah, just block them.
I
That's
just
what
block.
I
I
do.
go block crazy every day.
Yeah, I just block them. People want to talk a lot of shit. They want to be angry, man. It's like you could choose to what you choose to put on that Twitter is a direct reflection of you as a human being. What you send out there, that's you, man. And if you get cunty, I don't need you in there.
Right.
I don't need you in the mix.
Right.
Put that block on you. You take care.
But I had got caught up in it.
gonna
I
go
think
back
if you
and
want to talk
forth.
to me that way, we should meet
Yeah.
somewhere.
Do you know how to get to the dock?
It's
You know-
funny how many people out there looking to find somebody to hate. There's a lot.
A lot of people, man.
A lot of people
A lot of
looking
people,
for you to
man.
stumble. So they can
Yeah,
point
yeah.
fingers and you go fuck yourself. And
They want to do that. They want to, I don't know. I guess as people feel a lot of times that if you're failing, then that makes them doing good.
Better, yeah.
I'm doing good. I'm not failing. See, look, they're failing.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
failing.
yeah. Yeah, that's the worst. I'm happy to see him fail, that piece of shit. You're like, man, you don't even know
You
that
don't even
dude.
know this dude.
You never even met that dude.
I'm glad it's not the opposite. I would hate to have everyone try to kiss you all the time, like write you nice little love letters every day.
I just want
you
to
know?
tell you, your eyes
Who would
look
be
great today.
Who do you think would be the most annoying to be in that respect?
Either one of them, man. He could tell you, I broke up with this girl once for asking me, am I okay?
Are you okay?
She just kept saying it.
Oh, really?
Are you okay?
Are you every
Yeah,
10
baby,
minutes?
I'm fine. Why don't you go get something to eat? She come back, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah. 20 minutes later. And then they even noticed it. So I finally said to her, look, I'm a grown man. Why do you keep asking me, am I okay?
Say
over
it
and
how
over?
you said it. Say it how you said it. Look, bitch, I'm okay.
What did you say? What really?
That's how I said it.
said.
Look, bitch, I'm okay.
I'm a grown man.
I'm a
If
grown
I wasn't
fucking
okay,
man.
do you think I'd come to you?
Right.
You think I would come to you for assistance?
You can really help me with my problems?
Is that what you said to her?
Yep, I said, never ask me, am I okay again? Do you understand? Are you okay? I had to storm out of the room.
Maybe she just wanted to talk, but wasn't a good sentence starter.
She was, she had a problem, man.
Yeah.
She had a problem.
She had a problem?
She had problems with, it was weird, you know.
Yeah.
She was really whipped, I guess that's the way to put it.
She was dick whipped.
To the point where it was irritating.
You just broke her down.
To the point she was asking,
I don't
"Bitch,
gave in."
are we okay? Are you guys okay?
Damn.
What's wrong with this chick, man?
Wow.
You don't want that to be the effect, though. You don't want somebody to, that's too much.
She was just too into you?
Yeah, man. Somebody could be too into you. You know what I mean? Like, it's irritating. Come on, man. Back up, man.
I don't know, man. That sounds pretty good to me.
Nah.
I just need a few of them.
You have to experience this.
Nah,
It's too
I
into
felt
you.
sorry for the dude.
You felt sorry because she
Come out
liked
the
him too
room,
much.
she's pacing in the hallway in front of my door, whatever.
Ready
What
to-
are you doing here?
At your beck and
I came
call?
to see if you're okay.
Can you see if you're okay?
Was she hot? Was she hot?
She was nice looking, but that made her ugly, man. Are you okay
Really?
stuff. She did it to the point where it was like, look, I'm avoiding you at all costs.
And did you ever tell her stop asking?
Yes, several
And
times.
she wouldn't stop.
She couldn't stop.
What was the issue? She crazy?
She was
Little bit.
no, she's a little. She said, "I'm obsessed with you." I was like, "Well, that means that you should go talk to a psychiatrist. If you're obsessed with anyone, you shouldn't be dealing with them no more. You should. That's not part of a healthy relationship. Obsession.
What caused the obsession?
I don't know, man. Like some people,
Did you just fuck the shit out of her, Charlie
probably
Murphy?
did. You know what I'm saying? But some people
Must have. You
it
must have
had a
just
different
fucked the
effect
shit
on
out of
different
this
people.
girl. You broke her, dude. You broke her
That
to the
wasn't
point
my
where she was like waiting outside your dog like
Are you
your
okay?
door like a dog.
Are you okay? Am I okay? I guess.
She's like a bloodhound for you.
Want something to eat?
You okay? You okay? You okay?
How long?
Other
How many
women would've
times
been
did you
pissed
have
off, right?
How many times did you have to fuck her before you broke her?
Once, man. Are you okay? Started from the first.
Really?
On the first session. Are you okay? I was like, am I okay? Are you okay?
Charlie Murphy.
Are
Okay.
you okay?
Breaking girls' wills.
I must crush you.
Charlie did a Murphy that
I'm gonna tell you something, though, man. I'm tired of being single, man.
Charlie did a Murphy?
Charlie did a movie. Charlie did a movie that's I thought was the same name as the coconut water, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's Cookout 2, CO2.
All right.
Cookout 2, yeah.
Yeah, with Mike Tyson, right?
Mike Tyson's in the scene in the movie, yeah.
I'm in it too.
He's in it. Freeze is in it. Yeah.
When's that coming out? Because you guys filmed that last year? Or
we filmed like 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
2 years ago in Miami, yeah.
But I don't know when it's coming out because that dude Jimmy Henchman is, you know.
Yeah, I talked to Shaq Kim. I told him when he was coming down in Miami. He said he's going to do a screening.
Oh, okay. One of the producers got put away, so I don't know what's
The
up.
Wonderful World of Movies.
You know what I mean? The movie's a
funky
good
world,
movie, man. The movie's funny. My best thrill was the fact that I had a chance to work with Mike. I knew Mike Tyson before he was the champ. You know what I'm saying? So I seen the whole journey from the guy who was a regular dude that was scared, and and all these people were around him and telling him you could do this, and he did it, and he became this bigger than life person, all the way to the end, to now the person that he is now. Because if you see Mike now, Mike got his shit together. You know what I'm saying? He's not. Nobody can say, oh yeah, he's out of control. He's not out of control. He's a married dude. He's calm. He's polite to people. He doesn't get in trouble no more. He got laughing.
Yeah,
He's a regular dude, man.
It's interesting.
Yeah, he got his shit together now, man. So I feel good about that. I got to work with him in that movie, so that was a good feeling, man. Because I hadn't seen him in years. I seen him, and when I did see him, he was back. You know what I'm saying?
You've seen that documentary?
Yeah, I seen the documentary.
How fucking powerful was that?
With the bird.
If you've never seen that Tyson documentary, is it just called Tyson? What is it called?
I think it's
extremely powerful. You see a man
It is
cry
fucking incredible.
Cry when he reflects on parts of his life.
Yeah.
A strong man like that, then you have to realize that whatever was on him was no joke.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Right? That's a man who one time I went to his house and it was 6 limos and nobody would get out the limo. And I said, how come nobody's getting out the car? They said, you don't see that lion standing over there? Mike Tyson had a lion in his front yard.
Like Hangover style.
That's the only man whose house I ever went over. There was a lion in the front yard, loose.
Wow.
He was on the steps like this with a heavyweight belt.
What? What?
How come nobody wants to get out the car and play with my cat? He was like,
Oh
no,
my
man,
God.
no, that's not a cat. That's a lion.
That's fucking real.
Oh my
Mike
God.
Tyson had a lion.
A male lion or a female lion?
awesome.
With a mane, a lion in his front yard,
Holy
loose.
shit.
It was walking, it was off the leash, man. It was not in the cage. It was in the yard.
Oh my God.
And then he came out and started wrestling with him. And all.
Oh my God. Damn, he
Lion.
wrestled. How big was the lion?
It was big, man. It was a lion, man.
He was wrestling with a
Came
lion.
over there and grabbed him and started tussling with him and all that.
Jesus.
And everybody was in the limousine, so the lion could come up to a limousine and bust the window open and come in there. I'm sorry.
Easy.
He could just go like this, boof, and come right in there
Yeah.
and just have lunch. So everybody was in the car. You couldn't back out because it was all like 5 limos. So everybody's in the car horrified, thinking that Mike is getting ready to be eaten by this lion, but that doesn't happen. He plays with him and he takes him in the back. Comes back out, and I was like, you know what? I'm never going to be around another man in life that's going to do that in front of me. and you know what I'm saying? Because to me, Mike Tyson is not a lion tamer. You ever hear about Mike working in Vegas? No, he just tamed lions. He had one in his front yard, man.
Yeah,
And he had other cats there too. You know?
Bieber would never have a lion, and he'd be like chills all the way or something.
Boy,
How come you guys left waiting my cats?
isn't that
Because we've seen Wild Kingdom, like Mike. We've seen him eat wildebeest.
the Mike Tyson story is such a classic fucking story too.
Yeah, man.
Goes from being poor to being intensely rich,
Intensely rich.
and the focus of attention of literally every person on the planet. When he was at his peak,
Right.
man, in the late '80s, God, when he beat Michael Spinks,
Crazy.
Jesus Christ! I don't even think people
When he had the-
today,
when he had
people
the
these
billboard on
kids
Sunset,
today,
Iron Mike, and his face was made of iron. That billboard.
I don't remember that.
The strongest billboard on Sunset.
Really?
It's an iron. It's an Iron Mike. Like his face was made of iron. It's just Mike's face. Awesome billboard.
The years,
Kids-
like the Bruce Seldon years, where Bruce Seldon, he didn't even, he missed him with a left hook and Seldon's knees buckled. He got up and just said, "What am I doing getting up?" Like,
He
I'm just,
knew better.
Yeah.
He knew better.
all those
Yeah,
guys.
there
He was
is
a
no
destroyer.
There's no fighter out there right now, I think, that has captured the attention since him.
Not like him.
Not like him since him.
People don't understand. He was Michael
I'm
Jackson.
gonna tell you who would be capturing if he was American. Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pacquiao would be like that, but he's not. He's like that over in the.
If you look at the sheer numbers between how he was and Tyson was, he's probably right up there with Tyson right now, huh?
Close.
Close, if not the same. Yeah,
definitely close.
Hey, especially in Asia, I mean,
forget he's
How about in
real
LA,
Bruce
man?
Lee right now, man.
In LA,
In
you go to
LA.
Wild Card Boxing where he trains. People sit out there and wait for him. They wait to find out what time Manny's going to be there. There's like a whole crowd of people there. I did this thing with Daniel Tosh for Tosh's TV show where Tosh gets punched in the head by Manny Pacquiao.
What?
He let Pacquiao punch him. Pacquiao's very nice. He's very nice. He's just like barely tapping him. And we had to do it a little harder to make it realistic so he could put a little pop into it. But it was nothing. It was very nice. But every business in that whole complex has Manny's pictures up and Manny's signed things. And he's got boxing gloves on and pictures of him eating in this restaurant that's right there. And
That's cool.
yeah, it's like there's a huge. He's like a superstar. He's at the peak.
He deserves it, man.
Oh yeah, and he's such a nice guy.
Who do you think is going to win between Ortiz and Mayweather?
That's a good question. And I was going to bring that up when we were talking about Tyson because I was watching this thing on Victor Ortiz and he was talking about his childhood. I was watching it right before
he had it
came
rough,
over.
man. He had it rough, baby.
His mother, when he was 12 years old, when he was 7 years old, or 6 or 7, his mother just left, just took off, never came back. So he's only raised by his dad, and his dad just beat the shit out of them, hit them with sticks, hit them with anything. And then when they were 12, his dad left. So it was him and his fucking brother like wild dogs at 12 years old taking care of themselves.
Right.
Scary shit, man. Like they had nothing. They had nothing.
Real fighters.
Yeah. And to come from that, man, there's a certain amount of resolve that kid's gonna have that the average person is not gonna have. But is that gonna be enough to deal with Floyd motherfucking Mayweather, dude?
Yeah, man. Because Floyd,
Floyd Mayweather is an artist. There's, you love him or hate him for like his personality and the way he attracts fans and the way gets flamboyant and crazy. Skillfully, forget all that. Skillfully, he's a fucking master boxer. He's a master. He's very rarely in any trouble. He gets hit, he can take a shot. Shane Mosley banged him.
Shane Mosley would have stopped anybody else in the division with that shot. It would have stopped.
Well,
they wouldn't have been able to recover the way Mayweather did everything perfect. He tied him up.
Yeah.
He recovered, and then he took his time before he jumped back on him, and then it was beautiful. That's
he's
what you're supposed to do.
Very technical. He's technically perfect. Like he makes these little short movements and throws guys off, little quarter turns and shots from different angles that you expect, and he gets through where he finds out where you're gonna step, and then he's waiting for you before you do it. He sorts you out, man.
Yeah,
he's a real technical boxer.
That's why I think what's gonna happen with him and Ortiz is going the distance. It's gonna be bloody.
You think so?
Yeah, Ortiz is not letting him beat him. He's coming to fight, man. He's going to have to get beat.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a good fight for Mayweather. I think Mayweather's going to win, but he's going to have to beat Mayweather to beat him. He ain't going to be able to come in and have the night off.
Right.
That dude is the real deal. I give him props. He beat my friend Andre. That's a good friend of mine, Andre Berto. And
that was a great fight.
That was a great fight. But it showed me that this dude is no joke.
No joke.
Andre Berto, that shot he dropped him with, anybody else don't get up.
Yeah.
That guy got back up and then put him down.
Yeah.
Off of that. So when I put you down, I wasn't even at 100%. I'm drunk when I do that.
Right.
And not too many fighters can pull that trigger. Be on the ground like that and get up and put the other guy down. How often do you see that happen?
He's definitely a blood and guts type fighter. He throws himself into danger.
So that's going to be a good fight for Mayweather.
He had that one fight where he quit. And ever since that one fight, he's felt terrible about that. He was losing his fight, and he got dropped, and he just called the referee off and quit. And people really heavily criticized his heart. But what it was he wasn't 100% focused on either his training or fighting itself or the consequences of losing or whatever the fuck it was. He came into a fight out of shape. And that's some shit that happens. That's some shit that young guys will do, man. They'll fuck up, or they'll have a bad camp, or they needed to learn something, or they needed to be pushed and then broken to rebuild and come back again. Right. So ever since that fight, he's been a fucking monster. That Berto fight was insane. Because I thought Berto was like the next challenger to Mayweather. I said, like, this guy's so technical, and Berto is as well.
But Berto got a fight coming up September 3rd. He got a fight coming up.
He's a real accurate puncher too. That guy's a sniper.
Yeah,
you know, he's a bad motherfucker. I thought he was going to be the next guy. When Ortiz beat him, I was blown away. That kid's tough, and he got a lot better. He got a lot better from that one fight. You could tell the one fight where he quit. From then on, his dedication has obviously been way more focused.
Way more.
Yeah, because now
with the way he won, it was the way he beat Berto. What that does for your confidence is that's it's gonna be much more than if he would have just came in, stopped him early. Is that he had a grueling contest with this man and came out on top. You know, so that really does a lot for you.
Do you think that there's any way that Mayweather is going to be rusty because he keeps taking these like 1.5 breaks, 2-year breaks in between fights?
Well, I think the reason why he's doing that is because his hands. You know what I'm saying? He lets his hands get a good time between fights to heal up. He's older. You know what I'm saying?
They break really easy, right? He's broken them a few times.
His hands. So he's preserving his hands, But he still trains like a dog. He's around the clock. He's training. You know, whether he's got a fight coming up or not, it's his lifestyle. So I don't think he's rusty at all.
So you think he's just constantly stays home?
They constantly bring them in. They whips guys' asses every week, man. Whether you got a fight coming up or not.
Really?
Yeah, the guys come to the gym, light him up. He works out. He's always in shape. He doesn't get in shape during camp. He's already in shape when he gets there. You know, just fine-tunes everything.
They showed his training camp. They showed him hitting the pads. It's just ridiculous, man. Nobody hits the pads like he does too, and a lot of it is just just combinations. And you just watch the fucking combinations.
His arms don't get tired.
Never, he's just relaxed and everything's flowing.
Show him with the jump rope.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Jump rope routine is insane.
Well, he's a master.
Sit-ups too.
And he doesn't.
Sit-ups.
Yeah,
Does it from a standing position.
Yeah. He doesn't take much punishment, man. He's a guy who's been a boxer for a long time, and he looks perfect. Looks nothing wrong with him. He's got no scars. He's not busted up. And what is that, Mike Tyson?
Mike Tyson with his lion, just wrestling around with it and stuff like that.
In the video? Oh, that's the.
So now you know I didn't make that up.
19-year-old, 20-year-old Mike Tyson right there.
Look at this right here.
That's the Mike Tyson.
Oh
my God. He's got a fucking tiger.
He has a lion too, bigger than that. But he had one anyway.
Oh my God. How could that end well?
Yeah, it doesn't end well. If you keep them long enough, it doesn't end well.
They always kill you, right?
Eventually, yeah. Come on, man. They can make a mistake. They might not even do it on purpose, Joe.
Yeah.
Kill you by accident.
Yeah, wasn't that what happened with Siegfried and Roy?
Yeah, they can play with you and kill you.
Siegfried and Roy, that guy got killed by accident.
Swap, like one little playful swap took off side of his face.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't actually die, right? He just got really badly wounded. And what happened was they think that the tiger got confused because a woman had feathers in her hair, like some crazy peacock feathers, and they think the tiger might have freaked out and thought that was an animal, so grabbed him to rescue him, to pull him away from that.
He got Joan Rivered.
So the tiger looked at that feather thing and thought it was one of those fucking beasts from Avatar or something. It was just going to pop out of the audience.
Who in the hell is that?
A man-eating toucan.
Grabbed him by his neck and just dragged him off. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
What does that feel like when you hear your bones of your neck snapping and crackling inside the maw of this fucking enormous beast?
At that point, your brain is saying, this was a tiger. And you were in here with it.
Right.
That's when it's just reality is crashing.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck was I thinking? What?
Right.
It's hard for us to really wrap our heads around the fact that shit like that really exists. The tigers and bears and.
Right.
Did you hear about that lady in Russia that got eaten by a bear while she was calling her mother on the phone?
What?
The fucking bears don't kill you, man. They just start eating you. That's one of the things about bear attacks.
They broke into a house and started eating her?
No, they were hiking. Her and her stepfather were hiking, and they killed her stepfather first. And she got to her cell phone, and she's calling the cell phone. She's calling her mother while this fucking bear is eating her leg. The bear's eating her leg, and she's screaming and screaming. And the phone call, she called her like 3 times over a period of an hour while this bear was eating her alive.
Where was this? You can get this on the internet?
It was in Russia.
Can you hear the audio online?
Brian.
Maybe don't want
I missed the first part.
No, there was a woman. Who got eaten. She kept calling her mother while she was being eaten.
I thought it was an audio clip.
No, there's no audio clip. Right?
That would be the worst audio clip ever.
But they found the body. They found the dude dead, and the bear was eating the guy when they got there, and the girl had she died from her injuries.
And was it a Russian black bear?
It was a Russian grizzly bear.
Russian grizzly bear.
I believe it was a grizzly bear. I think that's what the article I said that I wrote said. But any kind of bear can kill you, man.
How sad is people be going up in these areas with that's possible and don't have a gun with you? You know what I mean?
Well, even if you have a gun, you better have a really big one. You got to have a really big one. If you see a grizzly bear, a regular gun might not be good enough.
Aim it at his mouth.
Might not be good enough.
So even if you bite me, I'm gonna blow your teeth out.
Yeah, maybe.
See you bite me after I put a 4/5 in your mouth.
What about a koala?
Blow up the roof of your mouth.
Koala bears are vicious if you're a female koala bear.
I'll beat the crap out of a
You will.
koala bear.
You fuck up a koala bear.
What is this? A fat cat?
What would
They
you
got
do?
sharp claws.
Here's the move. A koala bear is on the move. He's headed towards you. What's your first step?
Kicking him, drop kicking him.
Drop kicking him.
Oh yeah, you
like a football.
probably punt him. Yeah, he's short.
Yeah, punt him.
Yeah, you'd have
Punt
to kick him.
right into a koala, right into a eucalyptus.
And you got to hope that he doesn't somehow another time you lifting the foot up and just run right up your pants and bite your dick.
Yeah.
And as you go to swing, you just a little off timing and he scurries up your leg and right onto your dick.
Because they only eat eucalyptus.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's all they eat. Yeah.
But don't they? I believe koala bears rape the fuck out of female koala bears. So they have to be strong. They have to have a good bite if they can pull that off. I might have made that up.
Aim for the balls.
I know. I just see how do rape.
Tasmanian devils.
They rape.
They're not real. Tasmanian devils was
that's a real animal.
It did exist.
It's a real animal.
Yeah, it does exist. I'm thinking the Tasmanian tiger. Tasmanian tiger did exist. It was in Australia, but they went extinct.
But the Tasmanian devil is a real animal.
What is it?
It looks like a rat family type thing.
Yeah.
They rape the female. That's how they breed.
But half of their body,
straight up rape, man.
Half of their body is I think like a little bit over half of their body is jaw muscle.
God damn.
They're just basically a mouth walking around, and they fight from birth till death.
Yeah.
They fight
any
when
other
they make
Tasmanian.
love, they fight when they're born. They fight. They constantly.
How
fight.
big are they?
They're big. Now that's something that would like get a hold of your foot when you try to kick it.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to kick that.
Whoa.
They're ugly, man.
Oh my God! Look at the images of this motherfucker.
And they yell constantly.
Holy shit! That's like a crazy cartoon pedo bear face.
Yeah, it's like vampire bears.
Look at this thing. Look at this thing.
It's like rat bears.
Right, man.
Look at that thing. Wow.
They will fuck you up too.
Very ugly.
No joke.
Well, if you look like that, you should be angry. That's one ugly animal.
Yeah, those little, there's like a few of these little type of crazy animals that scare the shit out of me. Of different species like wolverines and like honey badgers and shit like that. They scare the fuck out of me, man. Because they might only be like 15, 20 pounds, but they'll kill you.
They got a low center of gravity, man. They're like the stingrays of the forest.
Dude, they'll kill you. A honey badger would kill a person. It just would need some time, yeah.
I've never even seen any.
Oh, you never heard of a honey badger?
Oh my God. You talk about them in one sentence, but then you watch these shows about dogs, different breeds of dogs. There's it's a badger, the honey badger you're talking about. There's a terrier who specializes in him.
And killing the honey badger?
But they come with like 30 of these dogs. He may kill like the first 5.
Jesus Christ.
When they come, they go into his den. They go in there and bring him out.
God.
A Patterdale.
It's a Patterdale Terrier. They go into his den and bring him out.
Patterdale Terriers are no
He
joke.
may kill like the first 4 or 5 that come in there.
But it's like a
the other ones are not, they're not affected by the death of their comrades. He's coming.
He's like a real live Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
That honey badger. While these dogs are coming in, he's just fucking them up left and right.
But he loses also when they drag him out. They show they
label the honey badger.
Drag him out.
They say it's the most fearless animal on earth. That's what they say about the honey badger.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
And
There's all these videos. There's videos that online that say honey badgers doesn't give a fuck, and it's like all these videos of honey badgers eating cobras, like chasing anything that's in front of them. They kill poison snakes all day. They're just too fast. They just sneak up behind the snake, bite him in the head, and sometimes they get bit. They get hit by the venom, and you know what happens? They fall asleep, and they wake up an hour later, and then they eat the snake.
Oh, he thought he was gonna kill me?
He blacked out from venom, and his little crazy murderous body processed the venom, and he got up like he was drunk and just started eating that snake again. Snake bit him with its poison, and the poison didn't do shit but make him take a fucking nap.
Wow.
Honey badgers must be from Brooklyn, right? I could just imagine if they could talk, they'd have a Brooklyn accent.
Honey badgers don't even speak, bro. There's no need for language in their thinking. They're thinking there's no variables in their thinking. You don't need language.
Yeah, I guess you don't.
It's just fuck, kill, sleep. That's what the honey badger.
Point blank.
Fart, wake up, do it again.
You just realize how weak we are, man. We're so fleshy and
Tissue, like.
just nothing. Did you see Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
Planet of
I
the
was
Apes,
saying,
man.
man.
Did you like it?
We laughed.
You laughed?
I thought it was funny.
I
went to see Planet of the Apes because I was like, I know there's gonna be some material.
I loved the gas can scene when he came up.
When he let the girl out.
When it was like some real prison stuff.
Yeah.
Was it me or was it Monkey doing a Levi's jeans commercial at the end of the movie though?
When he was
the very last scene when he was standing on the branch overlooking San Francisco, that pose he had, I was like, that's not a chimp pose, man. That's a man's pose. It's like he's selling some jeans or shirts, Dockers or something. You know, the way he was standing there, he had his hand up. He was looking, gazing down.
Sexy.
Sexy. Looking at the Golden Gate Bridge and all that. I was like, look at this shit, man. It's tripping me out.
It was weird when he was
Sexy
like,
monkey.
Am I a pet?
Sexy monkey.
Yeah, am I a pet? Yes, you're a monkey, motherfucker.
But he wasn't. That was the whole thing.
But he was.
But he wasn't. But he was a supercharged super monkey, man. He was a monkey smart as people.
Yeah.
He was an alien monkey.
Yeah, he was.
I'm down for any movie where chimps fuck people up. I love watching chimps.
Yeah, really?
I love the way they move, man. It's fucking shocking. When you ever watch any of those things where they would teach chimps how to sign their own names?
Yeah,
and they could teach them how to spell things, and when they would spell it correctly, they would get candy. So they'd learn how to spell certain things and point certain things out. And this one chimp, they would let him into the cage, and the first thing they have to do is establish dominance. So as soon as you open this thing up, he's a big fucking fully grown like 8-year-old male. So he comes in and just starts fucking throwing himself through the air. He's like $160, $170, just hurls himself through the air, catches the cage, rattling the cage back and forth, hurls himself through the air, catching bars, and you just look at the strength that he displays. And you watch it happen. You watch him throw his body around and just realize what he could do to you. And then he sits down. And then he'll play with you. And then he's like, he puts his things up, takes his candy, eats it. But he just wants to let you know what the fuck he could do.
I'm just letting you know, like, if I get tired of eating these sunflower seeds or candy or whatever, I could come over there and just smack you around.
I thought Planet of the Apes was good. I didn't think it was that funny.
I thought it was funny.
I liked it, man. I liked it.
The gas can, come on, man.
It was pretty funny.
I
love the gorilla.
Funny. The gorilla, he was smart. He let the muscle out.
Well, right there. Isn't it funny?
I heard Final Destination, that new movie, has the best 3D yet.
I ain't seen that stupid movie.
For 3D.
I do not want to see a movie where there's a bunch of people just dying.
Yeah,
it's creative.
I never got it with that movie.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the old ones though? Like that highway scene where the semis are going like.
I can respect
a crazy car accident. It's pretty cool. It's not like a fucking awesome movie, but it's a fun movie, I guess.
No? I don't know. I don't have that kind of free time.
It's like the show 1,000 Ways to Die.
I watched
No. That show's kind of funny.
I watched that show's funny. That show's hilarious.
The problem with these Final Destination movies to me is like, he's getting acupuncture. How's it going to be? Oh, now he's dead. I respect the special effects, but other than that, it's like, what, I'm just watching a bunch of people die because of some stupid curse?
This new one has a bridge that's collapsing, like it's broken in the middle, and it's during rush hour, and it's just like the cars skidding in, and it's just all in 3D.
Wow.
So that part's cool.
I'm sure.
But you haven't seen it.
That's what I've been told.
Oh, okay.
Saying it's like awesome 3D if you like that shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not into movies just for 3D. I saw Conan, and it wasn't 3D.
The new one?
Was that?
The new one?
It sucks.
Of course,
And
sucks.
it's awesome and it sucks at the same time. Because here's the deal: the dude is the perfect Conan. Like physically, the way he looks just like Conan. I mean, he could easily be Conan, like right out of the Robert E. Howard books. So you got that, and then you got. Do you hear my kids screaming in the background?
Yeah.
I need a studio. This is ridiculous. We'll go out there.
It's
and
like an echo though.
throw some man shit down.
Hey, they run that. It's their house, man. Don't
Anyway, the
front.
dude was. We're just kidding, folks. Don't get crazy out there. The books were it was but it had no story. It was awesome in the beginning when he was a kid. He was a badass kid killing everybody, and it was awesome. And then it got lame, and then it got awesome again. There was a couple fights. It was pretty awesome, and then it got lame again. It was like awesome and lame. But they needed somebody while they were making that movie to be in the room with them, going, "What? What?
No.
You're gonna do what?
Like,
No."
They need a
Not
company
doing
that does that. That's I want
Really?
to be I want to be that company. I want
We should
me
totally
and my
have
5
that.
friends be like, that's so dumb. Why would you ever do that? You know,
Dude.
this is so fake.
I could fix Conan. All I need is a 3-day weekend and a lot of weed and some buddies that like those kind of movies, and you can fucking figure that out. You can figure out a way to end that
Going to
movie.
smoke a bowl
Yeah.
and take over
Yeah.
another army.
That was the other problem. This dude, he sounded way too California. He was like, there was times like in deep battle, he was a great Conan.
Right.
When he was fighting things and killing and yelling and screaming, he was a great Conan. But then he was sitting down and talking. It was like, all right, dude, you need to work on your Conan.
I'll be
voice,
right
'cause this
back.
shit
I'm gonna
is-
get something to
You
drink.
just sound like some dude I would meet at Target. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like someone who came from that era at all.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, it's-
That's like, okay, thanks for crashing me back into reality.
Conan is Arnold Schwarzenegger, point blank.
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be hard to beat. It's gonna be hard to beat that,
Conan's
man.
voice sounds like this.
It's gonna be hard to beat that, man. The performance he put down was he captured it, man.
Well, he showed a certain intensity, you know. I mean, Arnold had, you know, first of all, nobody's built like Arnold. You know, they're all gonna look weak compared to how he looked when he was flinging around the sword. You know, you don't get a dude who's built like that. So
I would see a remake with him now. Would you?
now
Now, if he spent like a good hour prep for it,
an hour prep.
yeah. I mean,
I'm
a
gonna
year
tell you
prep.
something.
I'm sorry.
If he went back to the gym, he probably could pull it off. Schwarzenegger pulled off that last Rocky. I mean,
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone pulled that last.
Yeah,
Rocky
but
off.
Sylvester Stallone never really let himself go. Arnold has clearly let himself go. This picture's, and he had a heart problem too, right? Didn't he have a heart
Oh
surgery?
yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably can't juice up anymore. His
At
body
this
probably
point,
can't take it.
Sylvester Stallone's the next movie he's gonna make is Mrs. Doubtfire.
Sylvester Stallone?
That's the only way I
you
can see
mean
my-
Schwarzenegger?
No,
You mean
Schwarzenegger, yeah.
You have me confused as
Mrs.
fuck.
Doubtfire.
You just down fire.
This is
Yeah.
the way I can see my kids.
He's a fascinating guy, isn't he?
Wow.
The guy just bangs his maid and just shooting loads into his maid while he's the mayor
For
or
years.
governor, rather.
Yeah.
For 10 years, right?
Yeah, a decade.
He's just too raw.
A decade of
Just be quiet about this. This is the cock. Just banging her all day
Listen,
at work.
this is the way you get to raise around here.
The governor loves you. It's so weird, man.
Weird.
Imagine that poor kid has to grow up knowing that, you know, the governor was just banging his mom and he had a real dad that he grew up with, but it wasn't really his dad.
Right.
He looks just like Arnold. That's got to be a mind fucking
Just
and a
like
half,
Arnold.
man.
Wait, she get in the bodybuilding. Take advantage of that. You got the same genes, man.
Yeah, you got the same.
Go hard. Now that you know that who your father is, better get down and Gold's Gym.
Because he has a different mother, he's not entitled to all that cash. It's a totally different situation, right?
He gets taken care of.
Yeah, well, he has to pay child support, but I bet the kid's probably not in the will and all that good stuff.
Oh yes, he is. He can get in the will.
Think so?
He can get in the will.
He was one of his offspring, man.
It's like this. At this point, that kid can look at it as half empty or half full. You're halfway in there, kid.
Halfway in there.
You're halfway in there. You can make it work.
It's a fascinating thing, man. I wonder how many kids Kennedy had on the side and nobody knew about him.
But
77.
You know? Think about back in those days, man. They didn't have as many abortions. They would just, a woman would go live with her mom.
I'm going to live in Worcester.
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 That's when you know this fucking podcast is falling off. We can't even come up with a good comedy name for where this chick's living. we peaked with the honey badger, and that was it.
The honey badger.
Charlie's checking his Twitter. We're all falling asleep.
Nah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm just making sure that I'm not in
It's
trouble.
almost
Trying to end
nap
this thing
time,
strong.
Joe.
It's getting
It's
late.
almost 8 p.m.
It
We
is
going.
almost 8
Listen, man. We're going to that. What's the name of that club we're going to hit tonight?
1616.
What's that?
It's a club in downtown LA.
We're going to hit that.
It's at 1616.
You doing comedy
15th
tonight?
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you're doing it, at this place?
Yeah, I'm going down there. That's what we started talking about it earlier, but we got off the subject. I was talking about how we're here for 6 weeks, so that's why every week we go do the Laugh Factory, getting ready to go downtown. I don't just sit back and go, okay, I'm doing a TV show, I'm making money. I'll do comedy when it's over, because I know that the comedy is gonna suffer. You know what I'm saying? If you take 8 weeks off and don't do no stand-up, there's no way when you go back 8 weeks later, your next show is gonna be as good as your last one. You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah, it's
There's
true.
no way it's gonna be. You got to get all your feet back up under you again. And so to
How many sets does it take you to get your feet back under you?
One.
Takes one.
Yeah,
One good one.
If I stay off the stage for like 2 weeks, I never really stayed off more than 2 weeks. So.
Right.
You know,
I took a month off once. That was the longest I ever took off.
it's a weird feeling, right?
It's weird.
You feel horrified. As a matter of fact, last night when I went on at the Laugh Factory, that was the first time for me in 3 weeks. And I told him on the way down, I was like, yo, man, I can't believe how much anxiety I feel right now. I feel like I'm really scared right now. Like I feel like I might get down there and go, I'm not going up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But of course I went up, but that feeling was there, man, for just not going up, for 3 weeks, man. Yeah.
That's the number one enemy of comedy. That worry
The
feeling.
worry, especially if you go when we went to the Laugh Factory the week before that, and seen 3 dynamite guys come in and blow it up, and I was taking that week off. So when I came back the next week, I'm like, you going up, but you seen the dudes that come through here. It's not no slouches in here, man. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, you don't want to come up with the big, it's Charlie Murphy, and then you ain't you.
Do you worry about that a lot? Do you think about that?
Man, yeah, definitely.
So, especially coming into the game late with a very, very famous brother, too. It's a lot of pressure.
I don't want nobody to come say, oh, we not seen him and he was nothing. Blah, blah, blah. I want you to say, I seen him and the dude is working at his craft. He's going hard at it. I can see the work he puts in it, and he's funny. So the only way I can try to, have any play in that is to put the work in. I can't force you to like me, but I can work hard,
But you're enjoying it too, right?
I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it being a part of the community of comedians and everything. The whole experience, it's great.
That is a big part of it.
And
the community.
The people that you meet, in my opinion, there are no dumb comedians. To be a comedian, you have to have a certain level of intelligence. There's very few comedians that I would go, that's a dumb guy. Pretty smart people that you meet, and the way they look at things is interesting,
Yeah, well, they if they're good, especially, if they're bad, you could have a real issue.
I seen a real smart. What was that guy's name from South Africa the other day?
Wow, I don't remember. Trevor or something, yeah.
Smart.
This kid's from South Africa.
Man.
He's very smart, kind of really
smart,
funny
man.
stuff.
Yeah.
Smart. I love comedians like that.
Not taking his material, but he said this. He said, I flew 20 hours here from South Africa. I really had a hard time, and I did my research, and I didn't want to offend anyone. I found this one organization called the Ku Klux Klan, a very racist organization, and it just baffled me that Ku Klux Klan actually means circle of brothers. To be someone that hates black people, why would you call yourself circle of brothers? That was funny.
What is this dude's name?
The whole name down.
His name is Trevor
Something, I forgot.
Trevor something. He broke down what Klux Klan meant. He broke that part down of it. He made it into a very funny joke, man.
It was really,
very funny. He was talking about African Americans. He said even though they're not real Africans, no one ever pointed that out.
That's funny.
Born here, you know what I'm saying? Because he's from Africa,
right?
So when he came and said that, it was hilarious. And
yeah, he said I was watching all these films and trying to get all my black lingo. Like, yo, B, what up?
Yeah.
This is in and then the minute I got off the plane, everyone thought that I was a Mexican because
That's hilarious.
He's like a light-skinned South African dude.
That's funny.
Yeah, the dude is brilliant, man.
He's good, dude.
I like
His name is
seeing
Trevor.
Smart comedians, man. You know, guys that actually took the time to think about what they're getting ready.
Well, I think people in different countries are being exposed to stand-up they were never exposed to before the internet, too.
Right.
You know, your stand-up was pretty much what your culture was like. The English people had their own sense of humor. The Americans, different cities, we had our own different sense of humor. But now, because of the internet, everyone's sense of humor gets distributed worldwide.
Right.
So people get influenced by all sorts of different artists from all over the place.
I'm going to tell you, the one thing I remember about you, it was when you used to do the Anna Nicole Smith stuff. But the thing I remember is I never knew who she was before I heard your comedy on her.
Oh, really?
I heard your comedy and went and sought this chick out.
Oh, that's funny. You didn't know the whole story?
I didn't know anything about it.
Husband?
You know, I was just, that was way back in the day. You know, you had the whole, come on, baby, more, give me more.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, that was
and it was like, who is he talking about? And why a stripper married a billionaire? What?
Yeah, there was no internet back then.
There was no internet. We had to come get it from the horse's mouth. You know?
That story was so awesome. I mean, there was 100 different comedians that had bits on that. You couldn't pass it up.
Yours was classic.
Thanks, man. It was fun. Well, when something like that comes along for a comedian, for more, you know, some people go, "Oh, the world's falling apart." Comedian looks at something like that and goes, "Oh yeah, look what I got here."
Exactly.
I just found some money.
That's why I wanted to go see Planet of the Apes. I was like, I know I'm getting a bit out of it.
Yeah, you can't go though thinking that way. You got to go and just enjoy
I didn't
it.
get nothing out of it. I was like,
There you go.
man.
You could have just smoked up and had a good fucking time, like I did.
Well, there'll be another movie to come along. They always write
Cowboys
one.
and aliens.
They always write one where I sit down and watch and go, okay.
Yeah, I
You
couldn't
just
do it
gave
myself.
me 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
I couldn't make a movie myself, but I'm fucking very critical. You know, there's a lot of movies that just bore the shit out of me. It's just, I can't do it myself.
I
couldn't
just
do it
finished
any
writing
better.
one.
Yeah?
I hope that's not boring to people. You know, I wrote it for Paramount. It's about the movie is about it's like a slasher movie, but it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy about these two guys that used to be pimps. Right, it establishes them as pimps in the beginning of the movie, and they get out of the pimping game because there's some gangster dudes that come to town and take over the whole industry. Every
industry, the pimp industry,
pimping, gambling, whatever you doing. These guys are gangsters. They take over the whole shit.
So how they
the
doing
two
this?
pimps quit pimping, but before they do it, they set these two guys up, and these two guys get locked up. They get a life sentence. They set the two guys up and they rob them for $1 million. This takes place like in '79 when $1 million seemed like it would last forever. And they give that speech. This is the big one, bro. A cool million. This is enough money for my kids and my kids' kids. It's $1 million. And it's two guys getting it, right? So they set the guys up. They get the money. The guys go to jail. 25, 30 years later, these guys get out. Because life is only 25 years. Now, the other two guys are totally not street. They haven't been street for 30 years. They're regular guys. These dudes been in prison. They was hard when they went to prison. They came out even worse. And they figure out that these guys did what they did. They're looking for them. They want their money back. And these guys have to pretend that they're something, like pretend that they're, juiced in and weird. You really don't want to bother us because we could kill you. I know you're tough and all that, but you've been in jail. You don't know what's going on out here now. We run this, but it's all an act. And the guys that are with them are actors from an acting school. And they fool these guys very briefly in the movie, but when they realize that it was a trick, they go back to the acting school, beat up all the actors, find out who told, what the whole plot was, what the plan was that you used to trick us. Now they're after those guys. Now, while all this is happening, there's a stalker in the movie, a serial killer that kills only pimps. It's called the Pimp Stalker. So from the beginning of the movie all the way to the end, while this story is unfolding with these two guys that stole his money, and they basically trying to find a way to give the money back without getting killed. It's like in that movie, Which Way Is Up with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. that type of thing. We did a flim flam. We want to find our way out of it, give you your money back, get out of it. While they're trying to do this, there's a pimp stalker killing pimps. The cops think that the two guys that are after them are the pimp stalkers, but he's not. They're not.
You can tell the whole movie.
I'm telling the whole movie.
All right, Brian.
I'm loving it, man.
Brian, I'm gonna quiz you on the plot.
Yeah.
Quiz him on the plot.
All right.
Okay.
So there's this serial killer dude. He hates pimps. He wants to murder them all.
Okay.
And then there's this group of pimps that are ruling the city, but these other groups of guys came in.
So someone goes to jail for something?
Huh?
Pimp, two gangsters go to jail.
How's 25 years life?
That's life.
That's life nowadays.
When you get
25
life,
years is a life sentence. If I give you life in prison, that's 25 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So after 25 years, you can get out?
Get out, yeah.
That's crazy.
Now, sometimes it's life without parole.
That's what they have to say, life without parole. They say life, you can get out.
Wow.
So these guys get out, you know what I'm saying? And they're after these two dudes who are now like soccer dads with big guts. One dude works at the church, they're not street people anymore. And they're forced to go back into the world that they snuck away from, to pretend, for a little while, but it doesn't work. They get caught. The guys want their money back. It's all, I don't want to get too deep in it. I probably already did. The shit is funny, man.
Did you write your book also, or do you write a lot?
Yeah, I wrote my book too, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, your book's about you getting into comedy,
I'm a better writer than I am a pitcher. You know what I'm saying?
That?
I'm a better writer than I am a pitcher. I just am. If you read the script, you would understand it a whole lot better than me sitting here trying to
what the problem
capsulize it to you in
the problem with telling the
30
script
seconds.
Is you start and then you got to keep going, because then you got to explain.
There's so much things happening. Yeah.
You got a lot of shit going on.
A lot of shit.
And it's hard to pay attention to all that shit without special effects. You got to show me some shit.
Unless you're looking at it. Unless you're looking at it.
You got to show me some shit.
But there's a lot of shit going on in the movie. The movie's funny. The only thing that may change about the movie is the title, because the word pimps again. I'm like, I think I could come up with something better than that. The movie is not, I don't want people to think the movie is, you come to see a movie about pimps, because that's not what it's about.
Right.
The movie is about these two guys that went straight, and that element is trying to draw them back.
Charlie Murphy, what we need is a goddamn TV show following you around and talking.
Well, I got something like that I'm doing with Terry Crews, man, called My Bad. We
What's
got
that?
a deal with the Bio Channel. And it's going to be me and Terry Crews. The pilot is me doing, telling you a story about something that I did to a person years ago that was fucked up, And then I do a reenactment of what I did to the person. And then I go back and find the person and I give them their money back.
Here's my idea.
Remember
for
that time when you got robbed back in '74 and you thought that bop, and you thought that I was with you? Well, I set you up to be robbed. And it was all of that, and I give the guy his money back. And I'm apologizing. So what we're going to do on the Bio Channel is everyone has something, maybe not as extreme as me, but something that you did to somebody in your past that you wouldn't mind apologizing for. Saying, hey, you know what? I did blah, 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 and I'm sorry. And we're going to use all celebrities. Every celebrity got somebody that they did something fucked up to. Who'd you do something fucked up to, Joe?
I'm trying to think why you're saying that.
That you would like to, that you never apologized, but you wouldn't mind apologizing now.
So maybe Peter Chin.
Oh, I did keep him from hosting one day. I had to. Mitzi was doing that shit as a joke. It was like when Chris McGuire was auditioning for Mitzi.
Yeah,
and Mitzi thinks it's funny to let Peter Chen host the open mic night. It's fucking brutal, man. It's wrong. I mean, something's wrong with Peter Chen. And
That's funny.
And he would... it was almost like a parody of like the worst comic ever. Like explain Peter Chen.
Peter Chen is he was a nice guy off stage, but
there's something wrong.
There was something wrong because his comedy was so bad that you would sit in the audience and literally start hating him.
Really?
It
was aggressively bad.
He was aggressively bad. Like you would be like, why is he? How dare this idiot? And he over accented and his accent. That wasn't even a real accent.
Oh, he had a bad broken English.
Funny thing happened on the way to 7-Eleven. It's like, yo, what are you doing?
Wasn't he part of Don Barris's Looney Tunes thing that
Looney
Barris
Tunes.
used to do? What is that? What do you used to call it, Brian?
Ding Dong Show?
The Ding Dong Show,
Ding
yeah.
Dong Show, yeah.
He would have the worst comedians possible in the country. Like
Misfits.
Yeah,
Comedy
all
misfits.
crazy people. And
Comedy
he put
misfits.
together a
still
Ding
does
Dong
it.
Show, yeah. He's, he's got amazing tolerance. And he would always be hanging around with these cats, these characters.
And these dudes.
So if there's anybody that I would apologize, maybe to that guy, because I did bump him one night at the Comedy Store, but I did it for
And
my
it
friend.
doesn't have to be another. I mean, it doesn't have to be another entertainer. It could be anyone. Okay, somebody you did something to in 5th grade.
Look, I think it's a great
You know what I'm
idea.
saying?
That's a great
That's
idea.
going to be on the bio channel.
But-
It's going to be me and Terry going, with different people. And the part where I come in is the reenactment. We're going to always make the reenactment comedy.
I think it's a great idea, but I think the world is being starved from a Charlie Murphy TV show. That's what I'm saying. Someone needs to follow you around.
We got that, and we also got the other show I'm doing. And
I think a running theme is going to be Rich falling asleep. What?
So he wears
We
sunglasses.
had the whole digital thing we getting ready to build up. Where there is going to be a camera.
The whole digital thing?
Yeah, we getting ready.
Only a man such as Charlie Murphy can get away with saying that. The whole digital thing.
The whole digital thing that's going on right now.
We're building that up.
We're building my whole digital department up. You know what
Why
I'm
don't you
saying?
start a podcast?
I am. That's all in the making.
Come on. See?
Joe, that's all in the makings. But I only could do one thing at a time. And what I was focusing on this year was writing that movie I just finished writing, and getting ready to do the TV show. I mean, we're doing 20 episodes over the next 6 weeks.
Wow.
So I'm focusing on those two things, and once that's done, boom, then it's on to the next area. I don't sit back on my hunches at all.
Definitely not. You got DVDs, books, movies, everything. Like you go to your website.
Everything but a wife, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I keep working hard. I'll have one eventually.
It's got to be hard to marry after your wife dies. What does it feel
It's
like?
not gonna be hard to marry.
No?
It's hard to be single.
Right?
Being single sucks, man.
Does it?
Especially if you got kids, because, like, I have to sneak to have sex, man.
Right.
Now, come on, man. You go through that when you're in high school. But if you're a person that you're married to happens to pass away or whatever, you can't bring chicks around and bone them.
Right.
Kids, you can't do that, man.
Especially not being loud. Are you loud?
You can't sneak them up to the room or any of that. Because when they come in, if you have a daughter, she's gonna go, "Hey, who is that?" That's what my daughter got. Then she goes right over to the person and starts monopolizing them.
Who are you?
Who are you? What are you doing here? And she makes sure. So are you having a sleepover? And no, she's not. And so you have to sneak. Yeah, man. Being single, after you were married for years is whack. I was married for years, so I want to be, the lifestyle. My wife is gone, but the lifestyle, yeah, I miss that, man. Definitely. Being single sucks, man. Single chicks don't cook for you. You don't want them to cook for you. You don't even trust them. Especially if they suggest to you, would you like some spaghetti? And, no
Are
spaghetti.
you okay?
Are you okay? No. You got to be married to trust them to, enjoy those things.
Well, it's also got to be hard when you're on the road. You're on the road constantly. It's hard to spend time with someone to get to know them unless you take them with you.
Right.
And you can't take somebody with you. They can't.
Right, they have their own
can't go.
life going on. And if you say, come with me, then you're basically saying, quit your job. And I'm not telling no one to quit their job. Yeah, quit your job and come with me. Oh,
Right.
no, I'm not doing that. So, it's hard, man.
Especially when you barely know them, because that's really what it is. Until you live with someone, you really don't know them that well.
That's true.
You do, but you don't. You don't see them
Right.
all
Until you
day.
live with them, that's the key part. And that's when they get to know
And
you.
I'm not talking about a year of living with someone. I mean,
Yeah.
living with someone, you gotta say at least 3 years. Because something's gonna happen. 3 years is a good time
It's
for
usually
some
when it
real
breaks.
BS at some point. to
Right.
happen.
Mm-hmm. You get to know the person, man.
Yeah.
So that's like that's the paradox of my life right now. Is that, people will look and go, everyone likes him. He's doing great in his business and in his show business and blah blah blah. Yes, that's good, but that's not real life. That's a job. My real life is my family. My real life is when you come home at night and the lights go off, you're on stage, and that's the part where there's a big hole because my wife is gone, and it's not as simple as one would think. It's harder than you would think as far as finding somebody to fill in that area.
It'd be
Of course,
incredibly
there's
hard.
plenty of people that say, "Oh, I would do it. I'll come and be," but it's not the person you want.
You have to
In
be
fact-
very careful who you have around your children.
Yeah, man. I want to slap a few of these chicks. I'll move in with you and take care of your children. Really, you will. You.
A horror.
A horror.
What are you guys? What's that?
You don't know that horror.
A horror.
Horror.
Oh, okay.
The woman who is at the best of
I just
her
got confused by the
horror.
accent. I thought it was an inside joke that I was missing out on.
Yeah.
Horror.
You.
That's a
Yeah,
tough
man,
situation.
it's
I
tough,
feel
man.
for you, brother. While you're actually touring as a comedian, it's got to be really hard.
Yeah, man. Like for instance, I got my kids with me out here right now. I got my son's in your living room right now.
Yeah.
I got my kids out here with me right now, and you know, school's getting ready to start. So they're gonna be with me till September 6th, taking them back home, hanging out with them that week. School starts, and then, you know, that
Where's back
following
home?
week I gotta go. New Jersey. I still live in New Jersey
You still live in New Jersey, really?
and Pennsylvania too. But
I was just in Philly last weekend.
man, yeah, I have a house in Strasbourg. You know, but I'm just saying, once that goes back into effect, I'm still gonna be coming. I gotta come back out here to work on the show. I gotta go to Europe. I gotta go to Cuba. It's the job I have, so I can't complain about it. I'm glad I have the job, but that's the part of it, that the fact that their mother's not here, that makes it really rough.
Yeah, I would imagine.
If I was leaving you with your moms, I wouldn't even. I'd be like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
But I'm not leaving with you with your moms. I'm leaving you with nannies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because my whole family lives out here on the West Coast or whatever, and because I'm not the kind of person that, you know, leans on people like that. I appreciate your help, but I'm not asking for it. And if you don't offer it, I'm not going to complain about it. I'll do it myself. And that's how I raise my kids. You know what I'm saying? I pay my nannies. I don't ask nobody to help me out. I do what I got to do. But at the same time, there's a feeling that goes along with that, and it don't feel good. You know?
Do you do like video conferencing with your kids?
Yeah.
Do you try to do as
that.
much as possible?
I got Skype and all that, but
That's good.
It's
you
not
know,
the same.
my
They
kids
want-
are young, man. I got a 5-year-old daughter, you know, and you just don't want the thing you do to support them be the thing that disables them.
Right.
You know, like when they grow up and, yeah, my father was never home. He was always working and blah, blah, blah. And that's the reason why, my life went this way. That's my fear, you know.
Right.
I work with that one constantly, you know.
That's the fear of every father. How much time can you spend in doing what you want to do for a living?
To
How much
mold
time
your
you need to
kid,
spend
man,
to
because
that?
if you don't do it, he's getting molded. The world's going to mold him. Whatever you don't
Yep.
teach him, he's going to learn from somewhere else.
Yep.
You know, and it may be, you know, warped sense of, like me, for instance, when I was growing up, you know, my dad was always at work. Always. I was seeing him one day a week, Saturday. And usually that wasn't to be nice. That's when you was getting your ass whipped for what you did during the week. You know what I'm saying? That's when dad showed up to whip your ass on Saturday. As a result, when I grew up and became a man, when it came time for me to deal with women, I learned how to deal with women by listening to guys that were in the street, bums, guys named T-Bone and Slick and Big Willie and whatever. And because of that, the first couple of relationships I had with women, I was an abusive dude, man. I would think what, you talking back to me? The answer is I'm supposed to hit you, because that's what Slick told me. That's not what you're supposed to do. If your dad is there to teach you that, you know better. But if you don't grow up with that around, you grow up with something else, because you're gonna be seeking the knowledge. You go out and do the wrong thing, you know. So that's what I think about with my kids. That you want to be there to make sure you're there to deliver all the lessons they need. But then when you go, half my team is gone, and there's nothing I can do about that, it makes it real scary. Especially when you start looking at, well, all the people who are talking about they want to be the replacement. You go, hey, you must be out of your mind. You think I'm gonna bring you around? I mean, our relationship is fine over here, but you think I'm gonna bring you?
I think we found the show. This is the show.
What's the show?
The show is do a sitcom on what's really fucking going on in your life, man.
Well, that's why the show I'm doing is
About the adopted son.
Exactly. It's
You
me
tell those
dealing with my
stories from
kids,
that,
man.
right.
And I'm single. I'm gonna have the same, challenges as I have in my real life, and I can definitely bring experience.
Do you bring your kids on the road with you ever? Do you ever bring?
I have done it, but my kids don't. Kids don't like to be at work with you.
Right.
You know, for no longer than 5 minutes.
Right.
When they get there, they check it out. But okay, now where's the toys at? Where's my world?
Right.
You know, where's the kiddie things at? So I had my kids with me on the road when their mom was alive. But since she's passed away, I haven't had them with me because I'm a horrible fun buddy for a kid. If we go to Seattle, let's go check out the. I'll be in the room going, well, if I go there, I'm gonna have to sign autographs and take pictures. I'm not gonna be able to do it the way you guys. So, and it's going to.
You don't go to Disneyland?
I have to go on certain days, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't go when it's peak, you know, everybody's there, because then I become Goofy or Mickey Mouse, you know what I'm saying, to the other people who came there on vacation. You know, like the other day we were staying on 1717 Vine Street. It's a hotel called the Redberry, right? It's right on the Walk of Fame and all that. My kids are in the hotel looking out the balcony. We want to go for a walk. And I was like, okay, you can go for a walk with the nanny. There's no way I'm going to walk on a Walk of Fame in broad daylight with my kids, and I know that that's a tourist attraction. It's people on buses, you know, driving around. They have the tour buses driving around on Star Searchers or what have you. And if you're from Kansas or wherever you may be from, and you go to Hollywood and you see someone you've seen on television, what are you going to do? You're going to go crazy, and you should. So that's why I was like, you better stay in your room, because if you go down there with your kids, it's not going to be.
Have you ever thought about like disguises, like blonde wigs?
Absolutely not. I refuse. I refuse to wear a disguise.
I mean, that's just not out the blue. That actually happened on the St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York.
St. Patrick's Day Parade. A week before that, there was a blackout in my town. I had lost power in my house for like a week, staying in New York at the London Hotel. So St. Patrick's Day was during that week. I wasn't. I'm not Irish, even though my name is Murphy. I don't be aware when St. Patrick's Day is coming up. You know, so it
my
just
last
happened.
name is Rogan, and I don't know when it's coming up.
I walked outside with my 2 kids, and we was walking around Manhattan, supposedly going to walk over to Central Park, and I see all the hoopla on Fifth Avenue. I'm like, it's St. Patrick's Day. Do you kids want to go to the St. Patrick's Day Parade? They was like, yeah, Daddy, because they had never been. I walked them, it's just me and my 2 kids, man. I walked them up to the crowd, put my daughter on my shoulder, and we were watching the parade, and I heard somebody go, yo, that's Charlie Murphy. Yo, that's Charlie Murphy. Then it started from this side, the left and the right, and then you see the people looking at you, and they're coming forward, and my daughter started screaming, man, because it was a lot of people, and they had us pressed on the wall of the building. Charlie Murphy! Screaming, and my daughter's screaming, and from fear, man. I'm holding my son's arm, and I had to just turn into like an animal, man. Get the F out of here, like, just push through the crowd and run with my kids, man. And as I'm doing it, I'm going, you're an idiot. What made you think that you could stand on Fifth Avenue in broad daylight on St. Patrick's Day in a crowd with your children, and that was a safe thing to do? But I forgot for that one split second what I do for a living. It came, you know what I'm saying? It came back to bite me in the ass.
Blonde wig, that's what I would do.
I've never dressed like a furry.
No one would bother you.
This is why you never wear a disguise.
You could be a furry.
Because you're not fooling anyone. They look over there and go, that's so-and-so with a disguise on.
I could be a furry and you would never know.
Yeah, that's Joe Rogan over there.
Fox.
Yeah.
I'd be a fox. That's what I would be. If I was going to be a furry. If I was going to be a mascot,
tiger.
one of those dudes wandering around.
One of those dudes.
I don't mind people coming up to me, if I'm not with my kids. It's part of it. But when you're with your children, it's different. You're thinking about their safety or whatever, especially in a crowd situation. And then when you have somebody that's really not acting like an adult, jumping around and screaming loud, that's horrifying to a kid, man.
Right.
So yeah, I'm real sensitive about that, which I should be. I'm a parent. I guess any parent would be. You don't see somebody scaring the shit out your children.
No, of course, I'm sensitive about that too. You gotta be careful. But I go everywhere. I just go places, People most of the time people leave me alone, and when people say hi, they're usually pretty nice. And when I'm with my kids, very rarely do they ask for pictures, and I just say, man, come on, man, I got my kids here.
And luckily, you could pretty much take care of business if you have to. Like Louis C.K. had an episode last week about the same thing happening, where he was out with his kids, and these 2 guys came up and started like, yeah, we're gonna get you, like get his kids and stuff like that. It was fucking scary.
Oh wow.
And but Louis is not a big guy, and these guys were like big in the show and stuff. But that's scary because people.
And then I had that thing where the way most people came to know me, the way my name was pronounced to them as a scream is the way they say it back.
Right.
Okay, they're not screaming just because they're excited. That's the way Charlie Murphy, the way you're supposed to say it. Charlie Murphy! That's just how you're supposed to say it. So when you got 10 people doing it from different directions and you're holding your kid who doesn't even, understand any of the dynamics of that, it's going to scare the shit out your kid.
Do you talk to Dave Chappelle?
Yeah, I talked to him last week, man. Dave's all right.
How's he doing?
He's doing all right. He's still doing some stand-up, and that's about it as far as what I know that he's involved. I heard a rumor that he was doing something on the internet, but I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too. I just wish the guy would do more stand-up. I wish he would put out some DVDs or something. He's a brilliant comedian, man.
Brilliant.
Just when was the last time you heard one of his bits, though?
Great.
It's unfortunate. I love a guy like Louis C.K. who puts out a new DVD every year or so, but I just wish David put something out.
Well, I would think that eventually he's going to have to, because he has to be doing something. I mean, he may have had a lot of money when he first walked away, but you're spending that money. Eventually, you're going to have to do something.
Right.
You have to put something out and do something. You can't just go, I'm going to have enough money to last the rest of my life when you got kids.
$1 million.
You got 4 kids. So $1 million. Exactly.
Dave lives in Ohio, right?
Yeah. But even in Ohio, $1 million ain't gonna last you very long, man.
What's so much?
I'm sure he got a couple $1 million, but you got to work, man.
What's Ohio all about? Why does he live out there?
Oh, it's very sheltered. Like if you got money, you move to Ohio. Your kids are gonna be. You have to worry about nothing, man.
What do you mean?
It's safe, man. It's not a fast moving place.
Oh, I see.
It's not a lot of crime and all that other stuff.
This kid grew up in Ohio. Oh, he lives on a farm?
Yeah.
Really?
He lives near hippies, like Silver Springs, Ohio, or whatever. It's like a lot of hippies over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Good skiing.
Yeah? Hippies in a farm. All right, folks. That's how we're going to end this.
Hippies in the farm. The good life. You'll never see me do it.
Charlie, it's been a lot of fun being your friend, man. It's been a lot of fun meeting you. I had a great time doing that Maxim tour with you.
And we're going to do it again.
Cool.
We're going to do it again, man. We're going to do something.
I would love to do something with you. Anything.
I'm just glad we got this done because we've been trying to do this for about 2 years.
Yeah, we've been talking about it forever.
I was feeling like Joe at this point probably thinks that I'm full of SH.
No, man. I never
saying,
thought that.
Yeah, Joe, I want to come through your podcast. I want to come through, Joe. But we were never here.
I know you're busy as fuck, and I know you got kids because I'm busy as fuck, and I got kids. I know what it's
never
like.
here, man.
No worries, dude. It was fun running into you in Hawaii, too. That was kind of crazy. Just randomly.
You know what? Actually, when you see me in Hawaii was when I first started writing that movie that I just finished writing.
Really?
On that vacation is when I started writing it.
Yeah.
That's what ruined the vacation.
Just out of nowhere, we were staying at the same hotel together.
Started brainstorming and all that.
Small world shit.
Relaxing, man. And I was with a girl in Hawaii. I don't know if you've seen her. I was in love with that girl. Remember that girl? The one I took to Hawaii? Fell in love with the girl. Then with the kids. And I was like, this is going to be the one that I'm going to introduce to my children. And she was perfect. And then we had a conversation. And she told me, I just realized from observing you and your children that you're a pussy of a father.
Whoa.
I was like, what? She said, you give your kids whatever they want. And there's 2 reasons why. One is because they lost their mom, and the other one is because you feel guilty because you go on the road. But when I meet your kids, I want to introduce them to tough love. And I was like, really? All right.
Whoa.
I'll talk to you later. I've never talked to her again since then. That was the girl I had in Hawaii at that time.
Wow.
What do you mean you're going to introduce my kids to tough love?
Whoa. Yeah, that's instinctual. The mothers don't like other children. The new wife doesn't like the children of the lost mother. It's just natural. It's natural. It's you're going to have to find a powerful woman, a woman who is really pure and honest and loving and, someone who really is going to love and respect those kids. It's fucking difficult.
I let them know if you do anything to my kids, if you hurt their feelings or anything, I'm going to match it. I'm going to match your contribution to you.
How many evil stepmothers?
I used to tell their own mother that.
In movies and stories, it's always evil stepmothers. I
don't play that shit, man.
Yeah,
because I've seen it.
I hear you.
You come around my kids. If my kids tell me anything,
I hear you.
You said and did to them when I was not around. I'm taking their word for it. You know, that's my team right now. You know, and that's what I look at. That's any grown person that comes in it, you can help whatever, but you're not making them uncomfortable.
You're a good man, Charlie Murphy.
You're not having it.
Thanks for coming over, dude. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm gonna have to move this Kevin Smith one. Kevin, I gotta call you up. You're not supposed to find out about it this way, but it was supposed to be August 30th. Kevin Smith was doing it, but we're gonna have to move that. And that's it, freaks. Thanks for tuning in. If you can thank our sponsor, is the Fleshlight. What is it?
Fleshlight, the number one sex toy for men, Joe. If you go on your website, you have a
bribery, extortion, and bullshit.
Is you visit, because that's what makes the show unique. It's not just that you are in these exotic places eating these crazy fish in Brazil. It's you somehow or another they let a show on the air where they didn't fuck with it and they let the one voice come through.
I've been really, really lucky. We've been a freakish anomaly. First on Food Network for 2 years, and for going on 8 years now on No Reservations on Travel. It's been an amazing run because at every point, both networks, for whatever period of time I've been with them, they've let me do whatever I want. They've let us make the show the way we want to make it. Do really fucked up things all the time. I mean, it's just there are some episodes that are like completely self-indulgent and fun to make, and clearly we're having more fun making them than audiences might have watching them.
What shows? Which show would you think?
We did a whole show. I mean, one of the shows I'm proudest of is the Rome episode. We're just sitting around, all the shooters, the camera people.
That was a great episode.
Here's how it all started. The camera people, assistant producers, me hanging around in some terrible hotel lounge, probably in Singapore or Kuala Lumpur or someplace like that. We're getting really fucked up on cocktails and, just talking shit the way people do. And I think one of the camera guys said, "Man, we are so fucking good. We are so good at what we do that I'll bet we could make food porn in black and white." And we all looked at each other and yeah, dude, well, let's just do it. Well, they let us make that show, and we got away with it. And I think we did it really well. It's a really pretty show. But if you, generally speaking, I don't know of many other people on television lucky enough to be able to go to their network and say, "We're going to do an entire hour of food-related television in black and white." And it'll be an homage to Italian directors that none of our audience or few of our audience have seen. And there'll be subtitles. Who gets away with that? So we're having fun, and I think if anything makes the show special, it's that it's really first and foremost about me and the crew enjoying what we're doing, both creatively and just having a good time, and that's really all we're looking to do.
It comes through. That's why it's so fun to watch. It's so obvious that you guys are having a good time.
Well, I mean, we fail a lot. I mean, there are shows where I'm really miserable and all this terrible, humiliating stuff happens to me. I don't set out to do that for, viewer entertainment. That's genuinely me having a bad or, sexually humiliating time.
Like the one time when you were in Brazil and you had a horrible back pain. Was that when you flew into the jungle?
Yeah. The audiences love seeing me, injured. Basically, that's comedy gold. So some of the shows that have been most fucked up and have just been failures, and where everything went wrong from beginning to end. I had a miserable time. It was just one, a long week of bribery, extortion, and bullshit. Sometimes, after you go back to New York and you edit to put it all together, that ends up being a really funny show. We did a Romania show that made me I'm public enemy #1 in Romania. It was a national scandal. But it's a very funny show.
Why was it a national scandal?
It just presented Romania in a comical light that they did not appreciate. Because we had a really terrible time there. Everybody was. We try to shoot stuff naturally. We don't like things to be set up for us. And so one of the first rules of the show is wherever we go, we don't want to see native dancers in indigenous garb. Some dog and pony show. We want to sort of run and gun. We were foiled in every possible way in Romania. I mean, the government and the tourist people just sort of stepped in, and we were supposed to shoot with a humble butcher and his family. Somebody arrived at the humble butcher's house beforehand, said, "Your house is not pretty enough for American television. We're moving you to a more attractive-looking farm. And by the way, your kids are going to dress up in indigenous garb and dance and pretend they're happy." So it was this whole eerie, creepy, theatrical.
Oh wow!
From beginning to end.
that's got to be the biggest trip, is that you're going to places that are fucking dangerous, man. Like, you went to Kurdistan. I mean, you go to the jungles of Brazil. I mean, you go deep, man. That's got to be a weird fucking way to live.
I'm just like having this late in life childhood of getting to go to all the places that I dreamed about and read about. I grew up reading books about pirates and explorers, and so of course, given the opportunity, that's pretty much what I'm doing on the show.
Wow, what a crazy change of life at 44 years of age. How much did you travel before then? Almost
nothing. I mean, I'd been to France a couple of summers as a kid. I'd been to the Caribbean. That was about it. I mean, I was, if I was sure of anything at age 44, standing in the kitchen, it was that I'd never see, Saigon or Hong Kong, much less, I had no expectation I'd ever see Rome. So I'm just kind of living that out. And as long as me and the crew, as long as we're having as much fun as we are, at least finding ways to make like more and more fucked up television, as long as we can do that.
Is the crew, is there any similarities with the crew as being like an actual kitchen, like the gang of a kitchen?
More like a band. I often talk like a band that's toured together for a really long time, and sometimes we rotate out personnel, but there's a core group, and maybe the bass player will go away for a while, but he'll be back, and whoever fills in for him is somebody else that we've worked with for years around the world. So, we all like each other, and everybody's really, really good at what they do, and that's fun. Traveling with camera guys who are really good at their job, that's a satisfying thing.
It gets very intimate.
Yeah,
you're traveling on the road together. What is it? What's the number of people you travel with?
We're 2 camera people, a producer who also carries a camera, and an assistant.
So that's it, like 4 and 5 people?
There's 5, and we pick up like local drivers and stuff on the ground wherever we go.
Wow. Now, how do you coordinate with like a place like Brazil? When do you have to get a translator?
There's this entire profession of people, very strange, a mix of other professions who come together, and basically they're called fixers. You want to make a movie in Moscow, you need a fixer, somebody who knows what permits you need, how to arrange them, hires drivers, knows who to bribe, that sort of thing. There's one of those everywhere. Everywhere on Earth, there's somebody who is available to fix for you. And if not, we reach out to like bloggers and particularly food bloggers in whatever, because somebody's blogging about food, whatever city you're talking about in the world. Chefs, people who the chef's mafia is pretty extensive. If you know you're going to someplace in, I don't know, Southeast Asia, chances are a chef in New York who knows somebody out there. So there's that, you already have friends when you arrive.
That's got to be nice. But God, that's got to be a crazy way to live, man. How often are you on planes?
I'm traveling about 240 days a year.
Whoa, oh my God.
I'm either someplace else or in transit.
Holy shit.
So have you had the frightening, scary travel airplane ride yet, like with the lightning storm? And
I like turbulence. I know this is really fucked up, but I like turbulence.
Do you take your belt off and choke yourself while it's happening?
No. At this point in my life, it breaks up the tedium.
Really?
And like laying there, especially after a couple of glasses of whiskey or something, you hit turbulence and you see everybody else in the cabin freaking out. It's more entertaining than the in-flight movie, right. And it does break up the sort of soul-sucking monotony of too long in a plane.
And it's the best iPhone video too. You should always have your iPhone video ready to go for things like that when the people freak out on the plane. Right, I've been doing it lately. I never thought of it before, and then recently, every time something crazy is happening on a plane, instead of just watching it, I've been filming it. And
you got anything good?
Not really. It's really hard to.
Jesus, so
it was too far.
Wait a minute,
away.
And then you post this stuff?
No. I just collect it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
Really?
Make a
terrified plane passengers.
Yeah, make a 10 best terrified plane passengers.
I don't think we should put that energy out there, fella.
Yeah.
I'll replace their faces with cats.
There you go.
Yeah. Then it looks like cats are mad.
Well, if you were not a person of interest to law enforcement, I don't know.
I always film on the plane because whenever I go on the road with Joe, I kind of do the same thing that kind of what you do. You have a camera crew or a gang, but I pretty much do it for Joe. And like, so when we're on the road somewhere like Houston or something like that, I'm always having cameras. I'm always filming from, even when he doesn't know I'm filming, like in the back of a car or in the back of a plane or when we're at a comedy club. But it's weird collecting footage because now I've become addicted to collecting crazy footage. Like, I feel like I can't just go out and have a good time. I'm always like, I gotta film this. I think I have some kind of condition I need to get rid of.
Well, the condition is the internet, you know, the endless resource of entertainment that is the internet. I mean, I have a real problem. I can't even go to sleep at night. I sit in front of the box just clicking buttons. I just can't stop clicking. It's just like one more documentary, one more article, one more. What, a fucking hypernova? It's going to kill everything? Holy shit. You know, one after the other. It's like...
What were those sounds? Have you seen those YouTube videos of these weird sounds in different cities? Like...
That's probably horseshit. If it's on the news, if it's on the major news sites.
It's on major news sites.
Really?
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll try to show you later.
Okay.
Hold on.
The earth is groaning. What is the scariest place you've been to so far?
Oh, wow, I don't know. Scary? I don't know. I mean, in any country where there's really no infrastructure or no trustworthy infrastructure, I mean...
do you worry ever that, you know, you become like a target?
There have been times when on the show, when we shot in Beirut in the war in 2000, we got caught up in the conflict. There was a heightened level of paranoia about that sort of thing then, but you know, it was ridiculous in the end.
What happened there? You got caught up in a...
Well, we were there shooting a happy Beirut show, you know, with no reservations, and went back to my hotel. Basically, there was a border incident with Israel. Some Hezbollah had kidnapped some Israeli soldiers, and basically we got caught up in a war. I mean, woke up or went home one evening, look out the window, and there's the airport, you know, bursting into flames and rockets and stuff coming in, and we realized, you know, we're not getting out anytime soon. So there was, of course, on the part of the, you know, people who security guys who got involved in trying to get us out of the country. Yeah, we had to think about all of that sort of, you know, possible target sort of stuff. Again, it's silly, and I don't think any of us took it seriously ever. I mean, you know, who would target a, you know, host of a dipshit little travel show, you know?
Well, I think some people in some parts of the world would be really desperate, but so that was the worst situation that you were ever in? The Beirut situation?
That actually was the saddest. I think the scariest are probably places, Liberia. You find yourself where people are desperately poor and hungry, and there's no law and order at all. You know, a little situation in a market can turn into a really ugly situation. You know, those are probably the most realistic threats we've ever faced. It just, you know, large groups of hungry people behave like hungry people do. And so there have been some dodgy moments there, but that's about it.
There's a great online documentary show called The Vice Guide to Travel. Have you ever heard of it?
It's terrific.
Yeah. Did you ever see their episode on Liberia?
I saw the Liberia episode. It was a little lurid, but it wasn't false. It was a true picture of you know, it told the truth about Liberia for sure.
That's a great way to describe it. I mean, they obviously went after the juice, but I mean,
well, if you're looking for juice, you'll find it. I mean, General. I think they were with General Buck Naked.
Yeah. Folks who don't know who he is, he's a guy who goes into a battle naked,
except for his boots.
And he's killed the enemy's babies, and he drinks their blood because he thinks it makes him immortal. And he's admitted to this. I mean, this guy is like. It's crazy.
So yeah.
And now he's a preacher.
Yeah. I thought he was in the government, actually. He's a preacher now.
I believe he's a preacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe
it's a very surreal. It's that in many ways the history of that country resembles a really bad acid trip. You know, Manson-esque.
It's they were American slaves that were brought back to Africa. Was that what it was?
Yeah. Long story short, Liberia was, I'm going to say, founded, but the nation was created by freed slaves, part of a Back to Africa movement, and they arrive. People essentially who'd been taken from all over Africa, were returned to Liberia, a country that none of them really had roots in. And they became sort of an aristocracy and based their country entirely on the American model, very red, white, and blue. So it was in many ways this little America in Africa, and then things went really, really bad.
Whoa. Africa fucking freaks me out.
We're going in a few weeks. We're going to Mozambique next.
Are you ever going to go to the Congo?
We try every year. It's like this fantasy for years.
Do you really?
Yeah, I want to do the whole Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness thing. I'm obsessed with going up the Congo River. But every time we take a serious look at doing it, we schedule it every year. But every year we get the same security reports. Like, no way,
Yeah, it's a very, very volatile place. That's where they found that giant chimpanzee. Do you know about that thing?
No.
This is where I want to go. There's a chimp in the Congo. I mean, I would never go.
If you had a force field.
Yeah, if I had a force field. There's a chimp in the Congo called a Bondo ape. It's a new chimp that they've discovered that nests on the ground like a gorilla. They walk upright. They're over 6 feet tall. They're like 400 pounds.
I don't want to see this, man.
Oh, fuck. Are you kidding me, man?
Just draw it for me.
I just remember
the locals call them lion killers.
I don't doubt it.
2 different types of chimps. There's tree beaters, the regular chimps, and then there's these gray lion killers. They're a real chimp. Can you imagine a 6 foot tall gray jaguar eating chimpanzee? They've caught them eating jaguars. And this is a real chimp. They have photos of this fucking thing. They haven't been able to capture one alive, but they have photos of some guy shot a giant one near an airport up there.
I want one. Could I have one working for me? Like some giant killer chimp in a diaper, coming out to nightclubs with him.
Like that lady in Connecticut.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about. That's why monkeys, especially chimps, there was no love between me and the monkeys, because that story, this giant craze like Valium, he just kicked Valium or something, the monkey, and the chimp, and then like gnawed somebody's face off, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like that's a pretty horrifying story.
Well, they can just decide to do that at any time too. I mean, they don't, but they could just decide to just fuck you up anytime they want to,
and they can.
And it's not even like bad in their culture.
Right.
The culture of chimps, you're supposed to be fucking each other up. They do it all day.
Right.
They don't understand our world of not fucking people up all the time. They try to keep it together.
Yeah, I don't want any pet that throws feces at me.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you? Speaking of pets, have you ever come across any crazy animals or any weird threats, like in any places? Like when you go to Brazil and you're in the jungle, I mean, jaguars are like a real threat out there, right?
The closest threat from the animal kingdom we've had, we were in Ghana, I think, and the idea was we were going to go all the way out in the middle of nowhere, this tiny little game park or camp. And the whole idea was we'd have to get up super early and drive like 4 hours in bouncing Land Rovers in the hope that maybe if we're lucky, we're going to see a herd of elephants and get to shoot some. Well, we wake up really early in the morning, and the camp is infested with elephants. If you could be infested with elephants, they were just everywhere wandering around right outside. So, of course, we did what any shooter would do. You run outside and you start shooting the hell out of these fucking elephants. It's a good shot.
Wow.
So we're doing this, and we're like, dude, okay, let's get a good shot. You close in on it that way, and I'll close in on it that way. We'll basically herd the elephant towards the camera.
Right.
At which point the game warden wakes up, shows up, our guide, and says, step away from the elephant, like walk slowly backwards. We'd done everything wrong. These were young male elephants. They are the fastest moving creatures, I think, in the wild once they get going. Oh. And they hate bright shirts, which of course we were wearing. They're spooked by people holding implements, which of course that's what we were doing. And they particularly don't like being herded by people 1,000th their weight and are likely to charge at any point. So apparently we'd come close to doing something fatally stupid.
How were you guys so bold?
Yeah,
haven't you seen stupid is the word.
Were you drunk? You guys were sober?
You've never seen that elephant bashing the guy video that's on the internet?
That's an important point. Were you drunk or were you sober?
I mean, we're certainly drunk and stoned a lot on the show, but I think, no, we woke up and we were stone sober first thing in the morning.
Wow.
I mean,
what a I would have said, get the fuck
camera
back.
people are really suicidal. I mean, one of our guys, both of them actually, when we were shooting in Kurdistan, they're hanging out the hatches of these Russian cargo helicopters. hatch open. They're all the way out. You know, you're getting these cross drafts and humps from, you know, updrafts where suddenly you're at zero grav, you know, so you're, you know, it's just, they do crazy shit for a good shot. They really don't have a lot of sense.
Nothing freaks me out more than those planes with the holes in the back. Those cargo jets in every Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
You been in those?
Oh, man, we've been in everything. If it flies or moves on water, or we've been there.
Wow. And so over 10 years, how many different countries have you visited?
I think it's over 100.
Wow.
A lot.
God
a lot.
Damn.
So your passport has more than one. Like mine has Canada.
I'm on my third passport in 10 years. I think it just they can't even put in any more pages, and then you got to get a new one.
It seems like you should have a shorter line for security.
I'm really good at security. I go into this. You know, they talk about how cops will talk about how they can identify an ex-con very easily because when they're rousted, they relax, they go limp. They don't fight back. They're trained to sort of deal with that kind of relationship.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I completely forgot my point here.
That's all right. That's interesting enough. That's a funny point that someone would be used to someone frisking them.
That was so I go into that same sort of relaxed. I'm a professional traveler. I just sort of relax, go limp, and try to bliss out as I go through this really enraging process.
My friend Tony V is a stand-up comic from Boston. He said this to me once. He was traveling from Boston to New York on a regular basis, like good 3-hour drive if you're lucky. And I said, I'm like, how are you doing that? He goes, I just go zen. When I'm in the car, I just go zen. This is what I'm doing right now. I don't let it upset me.
Airports in particular, because it's futile. You know, there's shit goes wrong. You will end up sleeping on the floor. And you know, no matter how crazy and berserk you get about the situation, you're still going to end up sleeping on the floor.
Well, is that what in transit is about? What is this in transit thing that you're doing?
Well, I mean, you learn to adapt, I guess.
You're doing like a new show, right?
Oh, yeah, it's called Layover.
Layover. Oh, yeah. I thought it was in transit for some reason. That's my head. So what is that show? Is that about
it's sort
those
of,
experiences?
No Reservations has always been about sort of me having a good time or trying to have a good time, and this one's more. We're trying to actually be a little useful, like provide some information, experiences that you could do. Whereas No Reservations, that's always been a secondary consideration. We do a lot of shit on No Reservations that you just can't do. They're they're out of reach of anybody's expectations, I think, any reasonable ones. So this is more about if you're stuck in a place or you find yourself in a place for like 24 or 48 hours, it's just, good shit to do.
So you filming it, piggybacking it on No Reservations?
No, we took a break in No Reservations and went out and shot a whole hell of a lot of these all in a really short period of time. It was brutal.
So you're doing 2 series at the same time then?
No, we broke from No Reservations, banked like 10 episodes of Layover.
But I mean, you're going like one to another, boom to boom.
Yeah,
that's insane. That's an insane amount of work.
Yeah, but I mean, what am I going to do? It's
you got to take it while it's good.
Yeah, take it while it's good. I mean, this is not a gig that you can say, I'm just going to take a couple of years off, go to an ashram and find myself. But I'll be back. I have the best job in the world. I'd be crazy to not milk it for everything I can.
Are you still writing at all? Because I know that your one book, Kitchen Confidential, is like the Bible in most kitchens. Most chefs I know all have that book. Like every time I go to their house, I see that book. Did you continue to write on the side?
Yeah.
While you're on planes, or?
Yep, and I'll take some time off to write. But yeah, every couple of years, a book. Just did a comic book. They'll be out next year.
No way.
A comic book?
For Vertigo, yeah. It's an ultra-violent sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, a futuro-satirical slaughter fest in a sort of a near future where it's all about food. People kill each other over ingredients and ideology.
Really?
Yeah. It's real. The art is going to be amazing.
So did you write it?
I co-wrote it with
I
co-wrote it with a friend of mine, a really great writer named Joel Rose. and it's we're kind of describing it like Yojimbo or Fistful of Dollars, but all about chefs.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Now, who's illustrating it?
A guy named Langdon Foss, and he's a terrific artist.
How does one come up with the idea to start their own comic book?
Well, we just, we sold this concept, and they were interested, and they said, "We'll make it happen." I'm doing it because it's fun.
That's awesome.
I just, it's, again, it goes back to the little boy thing.
Yeah.
If you could do a comic book, what little boy wouldn't?
Yeah, no shit.
I loved comics. I love comics still. So.
I had a dream the other day that I went to a comic book store, and then I started getting into collecting comic books, and I brought it home, and my wife was like, "Really? You're starting to buy I think I'm going to buy comic books again."
Did you ever have to sell your
just a
comic
dream.
collection growing up at one point? Because I did, and Joe did.
I sold them all for drugs, actually,
Oh,
late in life. So I knew I was the sensible kid who kept my collection. So I had a very good comic book collection. But cocaine is a powerful drug.
I've managed to avoid that one.
Yeah.
It's the one I managed. When I was a kid, I had a friend whose cousin was selling it, and he, for like, over a course of one school year, he completely changed. He lost about 15, 20 pounds. His face got sunken in, and him and his girlfriend would just hide in their attic apartment,
right.
do coke, and watch TV. And I was like, okay, whatever the fuck that is.
Right. The blacked out room,
that.
the foil, over the windows. Yeah.
They got creepy. It was just very strange. I was like, they're infected. It's like they got bit by a vampire or something.
Breaking Bad does that really well on that show. Every time they go to meth head apartments, the set decoration, they really got that right.
That show's fucking great.
Yeah.
It'd be so fun decorating those sets. Like, I like Doritos. I bet these people like Doritos. Just throwing Doritos over, like staining sheets.
Has anybody ever given you shit for shooting animals on the show?
I mean, PETA do not love me, I'm sure. We do get mail from vegetarians. I shot a pig a couple of weeks ago on the show.
Yeah, great episode.
And, thank you. And of course, people who eat pork were saying, there's no need for that. That was, completely offensive and ridiculous that you would do that. Someone actually said, I guess you did it for ratings. Well, is there a huge demographic out there? I need to see more pigs shot in the brain. I need to see more. I want to see some more animal cruelty. No, it was we did it because it's part of a process that a celebratory process, a tradition, and I was offered the honor of doing the deed, and I thought it would be hypocritical to not. I'm responsible for the death of the pig because we're making a TV show about a party where we kill a pig and eat it. So either somebody else is going to do it or I'm going to do it. And I just said, fuck it, I'll do it.
Do you get sick a lot with all the different foods you eat? Have you ever found any food allergies that you didn't know you had by eating anything crazy?
That's such an important point, man. It's a weird thing that people have where they think that somehow or another, if you don't kill the animal, that you're not responsible for its death.
Yeah.
It's, that you're not somehow or another, just because you don't get your hands dirty in getting the meat at the supermarket, you're not responsible. It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, I don't make a point of going out there. I don't want, we need some more footage of me looking manly, shooting, bringing down a deer.
It wasn't like that at all.
We try to, avoid that. But on the other hand, we've had a lot of animals slaughtered for our meal around the world because that's what they do in a lot of cultures. When you're a guest, it's kill the lamb.
Yeah.
So eventually, every once in a while, I will actually have to kill an animal myself. I'm not a hunter. I would never hunt for sport, for instance. But I do eat meat and I do eat this stuff. And if I'm going to be cool with other people shooting an animal, I may as well do it myself.
I just one of the first episodes that I ever saw of your show, you'd shot a deer in England.
I was I was absolutely terrified.
Really?
I thought my worst fear was I'm going to hit this thing in the stomach or something, and it's going to, long, painful, horrible. I would have totally freaked out.
Right.
So yeah, I felt very.
Was that the first time you ever shot anything?
It was the first time I shot anything that big. And,
it was one of the first episodes that I saw, and it's one of the things that got me hooked on the show because I was like, well, this is real. Like, you just shot this fucking thing, and this guy rubbed a blood cross on your forehead.
That was Marco Pierre White, who's one of my heroes. Like, back when I was cooking, we'd all stand around in the kitchen and looking at Marco Pierre White's book saying, that is the rock star. That's the guy we all want to be like. And so suddenly it's 10 years later, and Marco's taking me out hunting, and I didn't want to fuck it up. He's letting me his rifle. Here's my hero. Saying, there he is, Anthony. Nail him. That beautiful one there. He had the head actually mounted for me, and had the animal certified. That's a silver medal, Anthony. He was very proud of me.
Did you get any rifle lessons or anything before that, or did you know how to aim?
Boy Scout camp, That's
really.
I shoot a lot on the show. There's a lot of not just. It's fun. I mean, when you travel a lot, who doesn't like standing there popping off endless rounds of ammunition at a target or something like that? So we do a lot of target shooting. Local firearms is something of a continuing or recurring theme on the show too.
Alcohol.
Come on, I mean, there's a bar in Cambodia that's really famous that you could basically go to and just get fucked up. They give you liquor for free. You pay for ammunition by the round. I mean, come on. In what society would that not be fun? Getting really fucked up and shooting targets while drunk with like 50 caliber machine guns.
Jesus Christ. Whew. Parts of the world, man. God damn.
Is bone marrow still your favorite? Have you found it?
I like it a lot.
I thought I read somewhere it was like bone marrow and bread is your favorite meal.
Yeah, I would like that. Roasted bone marrow. Try it sometime. It's just smeared on a little toast. It's good shit.
I've had bone marrow. I like it. It's good stuff. Remember we had that shit in Portland?
Yeah. It's delicious. Like very fatty though, right?
Yes.
It's
very
mostly
fatty.
fat.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know, man. It's very. I don't know. It's delicious. Melts in your mouth. Yeah, we don't travel nearly as much as you do.
You travel a lot.
Close. I do, but it's mostly just city. And I mean, occasionally I go out of the country. I do shows in England, and we do UFCs in England, and
we always try to find Fogo every city. That's what Fogo de Chao.
What is it like having a wife who's a crazy UFC nut? I've seen some UFC nuts, dude, but your wife is over the deep end, man. Yeah. She trains, she does jujitsu, and she does Muay Thai too, doesn't she?
She does Muay Thai in the mornings and grappling and jujitsu at Brazilian jiu-jitsu at night. It's with it's Enzo Gracie in New York.
Gracie, yeah.
At his studio, and it makes her happy, and she's really, really into it. And I sort of live in fear. Actually, my greatest fear is that she's just waiting. Some over enthusiastic fan. Some drunk chick with hair extensions is going to step in between the two of us. While we're having a drink. And my wife's going to choke her out or some shit.
You really worried about that?
She's going to hurt somebody one of these days.
Do you think she wants to secretly?
She's spoiling for it. We're very proud at the Bourdain household that my wife a couple of months ago choked out her trainer. He blacked out before he could tap out.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So she's just fucking nuts for this stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so.
It's all about the grappling, which. It makes it tough though, because we'll go out to dinner at like a really nice French restaurant, and she'll wear like a low cut gown, and of course she's got like blue and yellow fingerprints all over her body and these giant bruises that she's all very proud of. Everyone in the restaurant's looking at me like, you son of a. It's really awkward.
Yeah, you try dating a kickboxer, black eyes and shit, walking around bloody noses.
But she loves watching the sport, but I think way more she likes taking part in it.
Wow. And how long has she been doing this?
About 4 years now.
So she just got hooked 4 years ago and just dove right in.
When she does things, she tends to do them in a serious way.
She's a very enthusiastic woman.
Yeah.
It was fun watching. I really love watching people who really enjoy the sport and really appreciate and understand it. And you get to see that, like your wife is one of those fucking people that throws her arms up. Like,
totally.
Yeah. She's a serious UFC fan.
Yes, I mean, I'm getting into it just entirely because she's into it, and it's it's a lot of fun. I was a boxing fan for sure, but this was all new to me. So I have to ask her, hey, is this guy any good? Oh yeah.
Once you figure out who's good and who's interesting, and you watch a few good fights and you understand the rivalries, man, then it's inescapable. It's just too exciting.
I love the Anderson Silva fight recently.
Yeah.
That
against
see that
Okami. Yeah.
the whole when he put his hands down, that whole Ali thing was. I thought the fight was over. Then he just totally got in the other guy's head.
Yeah.
It was such a contemptuous thing to do.
Yeah. Well, he gets his timing. What happens with Anderson is he's like calculating you. He's figuring out, he's stepping inside the danger zone and outside and trying to figure out what your instincts are and what your reflexes are. And then he realizes that after like 15, 20 seconds, you're going to slow down. And, like 45 seconds of the first round, guys start to slow down. 2 minutes, 3 minutes in, they really start to slow down. And that's when Anderson starts to pile it on. He's like calculating your abilities. And then he can just get right in front of you and put his hands down, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And it's got to be the most horrifying feeling in the world to be locked in a cage with a magician, a dude who can hit you and you can't hit him, and he's very confident, and he's locking in on you, and he's got you timed and figured out. And then he just starts popping off on you.
That was a really impressive fight, though.
He's an amazing athlete, man. He goes down in my book as one of the all-time great athletes. Like the Muhammad Ali's and Sugar Ray Leonard's and all the Roberto Duran's, all the greats of the past. I think Anderson Silva goes right in with him. Obviously different sport, but the same thing. That super athlete, that guy that can do things that other people just can't do.
I'm always, Ali was a personal hero, for me. I just as a fighter, as a personality, as a leader, I just. Really looked up to him. Still look up to him.
It's very unfortunate what happened to him. You want to talk about a guy who was this incredible speaker, who was so fast and so fluent, so sharp, and the way he can talk and the way he could break things down and the way his ethics. He stood up for this fucking Vietnam War, and he said, "You know what, man? No Vietnamese ever did nothing to me.
Yeah,
I'm not going over there."
I put him up there with Jefferson and Lincoln, and I see him as a great, one of the greatest and most heroic American icons. I mean, certainly,
sure,
especially around the world, respected and looked up to. Have you seen the film When We Were Kings?
Yeah.
It's just amazing. I cry like a baby at the end of that film every time.
It's an amazing film. Then that's the film where Hunter S. Thompson was hired to go. Right. And he was so upset because he was an Ali fan. He knew Ali was going to get killed that he just took drugs and floated around the pool with a Nixon mask on and missed the whole fight. Just got drunk.
Dr. Thompson, another personal hero, but
mine too.
I think a sadder story.
Yeah.
People say Ali's happy now.
Really?
So I don't think that Thompson clearly was a happy man.
Thompson was in a lot of pain too. He had hip replacements, and that's brutally painful for some people. He had like a lot of physical ailments, and on top of that, his body was just so beaten down from the daily boozing. I mean, he just would pound it daily.
Obviously, I think anybody who reads my stuff, I was, I'm shamelessly. A student of or an enthusiast of Hunter Thompson's early work. I really, when that stuff came out on Rolling Stone, I remember, running to the store to get Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas serialized. Life-changing.
Yeah.
But I don't, that's a guy who sort of peaked early. And I think he had a very hard time for the rest of his career after, I think, probably Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. I think he was a guy who was clearly struggling with writing for the rest of his life.
Well, I think you just can't do that to your health and not struggle creatively. You can't do that. You can't just poison yourself.
You can't do coke and write. That's for sure.
You can't do coke and write? No?
Maybe 2 sentences.
And then what'll happen?
You'll either keep writing and it'll be utter and complete shit, or you'll find some way to not write at all.
Embarrassingly, I didn't know much about Hunter S. Thompson until I was in Seattle once. I was staying in a hotel room, and I had a layover, and I just nothing to do, just flipping through the pay-per-view movies. Gonzo, Life and Times of Hunter S. Thompson, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I watched the documentary and I went, holy shit. When they show how when Ed Muskie was running for president, he started writing fake stories about the guy being on Ibogaine and bringing in exotic Brazilian doctors. Right. And he made up names for new drugs that, a dude was on something called Wallet.
Right.
Some new form of
this
speed.
Stuff actually found its way into the straight media.
Yeah, and, they had to defend themselves.
He gave some homeless guy his press credentials, his White House credentials.
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
it was some epic stuff, but I think
He did some awesome shit.
If you read some of the stuff in some of the lines in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, it was a very romantic, sentimental side. He wrote some beautiful sentences about how his hopes were smashed forever by, what he saw is happening politically in this country.
Well,
Nixon just really fucked with Hunter Thompson's head.
What was great about his rantings and drug-induced, his vision of the world was that he had been through a utopia period in San Francisco in the late 60s. So he had this idea of this LSD culture where he knew this was possible. He knew it could be beautiful. And then when the hopes were dashed and all the water was thrown on the fire, then he became this, wild fucking renegade.
There's that line about it's right here. This is where the wave broke and it all rolled back.
Yeah.
I think he's talking about the desert near Vegas.
Yeah. Which was one of the...
It's a very, this was a failed romantic, a failed hippie, who'd seen everything go ugly real quick.
Yeah, and I love the way he described the so many people that were in the psychedelic movement. They was calling them mental cripples. The way he was describing it, that these, basically these people are just locked into this crew of losers, and they're dragging them around with them. And he stepped to the side and was watching the whole thing crash against the rocks. Such a fascinating writer that guy was. And was so fascinating that he had this idealistic period when he was younger, and it had the hopes dashed. So it was almost like,
Yeah, I think it's where the anger came from, which was also... So what was so funny about Thompson?
Yeah,
that he describes a bad acid trip once. I think in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where he describes a really bad acid trip as being one where you look down your leg and see your dead grandmother crawling up your leg with a knife in her teeth. I thought that is a beautiful image.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes I really wish I had a chance to meet. Once you find out about him later in life, you're like, wow.
He was a great letter writer, too. His letters are available. I think the book's called The Proud Highway, and his correspondence with the people is really hilarious. Really, really funny.
It's a brilliant dude. Watch that, for folks listening, watch that documentary, though, Gonzo, whatever it is.
Great.
Life and Works of something. I don't know if it's The Life and Times or whatever it is, but just Gonzo. Look for it. It's fucking incredible. So no one has really ever given you a hard time about killing animals.
No.
What about from all the shit you say about vegans? Vegans I find to be very defensive. I've joked about vegans a few times on the podcast, and I've gotten a bunch of hate mail, hate tweets.
Yeah. There's a hardcore of vegans who are they're not going to like me anyway. Whether I shoot animals, just the fact that I'm eating meat at all and talking about it as if it's something that we should all do. I'm already their blood enemy. So, no, I don't really get any problem from them. Vegetarians, I have a surprising number of vegetarian fans, which is something I really don't understand. I'm grateful for it, but apparently there are vegetarians with a sense of humor. Total vegans tend to not have a sense of humor. But no, they haven't had any problems. It's the usual angry stuff, but not a lot of it.
I always wish that somehow or another science had figured out a way to record the screams of lettuce. That they've found that lettuce, they can't move, but they scream like squashing kittens. It's just at a microbial level. We can't really pick it up.
Right.
This poor lettuce is suffering every time you eat it. And then see what these self-righteous fucks think.
Yeah.
That would suck walking in the Whole Foods and you're like wearing the scarlet letter. If you were just in the Whole Foods at the wrong time and there's just vegans everywhere eyeing you down when you're walking down the
I don't think it's that bad.
No,
it's not that bad.
What if it was like that? That would be.
I have friends that are vegans. I have a few silly friends. Like Jamie Kilstein. He's a vegan. He's a great guy. I love that dude. He's silly, though.
Yeah.
Have you ever?
We should help them if we can.
He used to eat meat, and now he's like super lefty. He's like he's got this radio show, Citizen Radio. And they're real super lefty.
You just got to cook bacon around them. Just somewhere in the distance, right? It's what is that? I don't smell anything. Do you smell anything?
You got to be around wild pigs. If you're so happy about pigs, you wouldn't be if you saw feral pigs. The pigs that you see have no relationship to the pigs that we would have if they were. We talked about this in the last podcast that they've transformed. Wild pigs, if you set a domestic pig loose, within 3 weeks, their body starts to change. Their tusks grow long, their snout grows long, their hair gets shaggy.
And they become more delicious.
Really, do they?
Wild pig is good.
Is wild pig better than domestic pig?
Kind of, it depends what you're looking for. You know, it's a gamier. For sure.
I've had boar before. That's fucking delicious. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Some of the game meats are like the most delicious meats, like elk. Elk is fantastic. You ever have elk?
No,
Never?
never.
Oh, elk is delicious.
Yeah. Elk liver is delicious.
Elk liver.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like,
Like-
calf's liver, but with its own sort of elky flavor.
Well, whoever figured out how to do foie gras, that guy's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
You
What it's
know?
going to be illegal out here, I think, in 2012.
What?
The laws kicking in. It will be, I believe, illegal to sell in the state of California.
Oh my God. There's a restaurant called Brandywine in Woodland Hills, and it's like one of their specialties, and it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I know it sucks to be a duck, but it sucks to be a duck no matter what, whether they have a giant liver or not.
Yeah, but on that issue, people really tend to get cranky, especially out here. I mean, some of the animal activists, absolutely terrorized chef friends of mine up in San Francisco.
Really?
There was a group up there who terrorized a chef friend, first, threatening phone calls. They broke into his business and trashed the whole business, plugged up the toilets, threw acid on the walls.
Whoa.
But the nicest thing they did, I thought, was they slipped into his backyard while he was away and videotaped his wife and infant child together from the rear window, from the backyard, and they sent him the tape,
Holy shit.
basically saying to stop serving or, selling or in any way dealing with foie gras. After this, I just feel compelled, even if out of spite, to eat foie gras for the rest of my life.
I want it now.
Yeah.
I will eat it today.
There are some cunts out there that are just waiting for an argument. They're waiting to pick a side to be on, whatever team it is, and fucking fight that to the death.
Yeah, I think they smartly saw foie gras as an easy win. It's not like this is any more outrageous or painful or bad a procedure in any way than any other animal we eat. I mean, the way chickens are raised in this country is truly shocking. Or domestic hogs from some of the major houses. These are really sort of grotesque mass market, and very unhealthy way to create food. Let's put it that way. So there are bigger and more deserving targets than foie gras, but I think the animal rights guys saw it as something that they could win. It would
Because
be a
it looks so
high-profile
brutal.
victory. It looks bad.
And we should
And
say
it's
what it looks like. It's,
It is basically when they feed the geese, who generally, if it's any kind of any sort of a quality operation, the geese or the ducks come over to the feeder, but basically you tilt the thing's head back, you put a long funnel down its throat, and put a couple of handfuls of ground corn in, which they readily eat. It just looks like they're having food jammed into them, and if you play footage of someplace in Eastern Europe that is mass producing this stuff very cruelly, there's some really terrifying footage that makes for a very lurid picture of the process. Add to that French, it's got a French name, and only a bunch of wealthy, high-end restaurants serve it. It was an easy victory for them.
Isn't
but
it
their
possible-
ultimate goal, but basically bolstered by their victory with foie gras here, they will then be able to raise money towards the next victory, which ultimately leads to their aim, which is to give chickens the vote.
Man.
Isn't foie gras, can't you get it organically where you don't force feed them? Isn't there
So
an
they
option?
say. So they will.
Smaller portions?
They will if just left on their own devices during a certain season, eat themselves, into a bloated, liver fattening situation for sure.
But that's the only way to get good foie gras is to do that
Yeah.
sort of force feeding, because otherwise the liver is just not.
You're not
tasty.
grabbing this. Anyone I know in this country who sells foie gras in their restaurant buys from one or two or three outfits, all of which I can tell you are not people brutally grabbing animals and jamming this tube down their throat, and some cartoon cat in one of those old Warner Brothers cartoons, jamming mouthful after mouthful as the belly expands. It's like 2 handfuls a day. It takes 2 seconds, and it's not that bad. And the animals otherwise live really cool, comfortable, luxurious lives for in the world of poultry, they're the aristocrats.
So it's really just a couple quick blasts a day, and that's it.
Yeah. Then, like every other animal, we kill them and harvest their stuff And in this case, their stuff is a delicious, smooth, creamy, very tasty liver.
I can't wait to try it.
You've never had it.
No.
You got to go to this.
I might go today. I might eat twice as much that I would normally.
Yeah, go to this Brandywine place.
Yeah. But I guess those are the people you'd have to, those are the people who get angriest, I think.
There's some people that love animals more than they love people. Those people are creepy. Those fucking team animal people, those people that want to rescue animals from... There's certain people, their agenda is ultimately to have no animals under people, like in yards, no animals contained. None. You don't own animals. Animals have their own rights.
That's... It's such a first world form of lunacy, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, they believe it's evolution. They believe that we need to move past our monkey past, and we need to move past our carnivorous ways and embrace the ways of the plant. It's healthier and it's natural, and nobody gets to get hurt, and we don't have to have horrific domestic. But that's
who likes to see animals hurt? I mean, we could all agree on that.
It's true, but if you don't shoot them, they don't live forever.
Right.
I mean, you're getting silly. There's a cycle of life. It's real simple. That shit's good for you. Steaks are, when you work out, if you work out, nothing feels better than a steak. You slice into that thing and you start chewing it in the blood in your mouth, like, oh.
Yeah.
It lets you know this is what you needed. This is what you're looking for.
I feel that urge often, but, it's really, maybe every couple of months I'll get that sudden, I'd really like a salad. Maybe every 2 months. Or actually, if you're in, like, Czech Republic, anywhere in Eastern Europe, basically, for more than 2 weeks, you're really starting to think, or Argentina or Uruguay, you don't see a green vegetable for like weeks.
Wow.
You don't see anything. It's just like pork, more pork, starch, and beer.
You start blocking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar, our former UFC champion, he had to get 12 inches of his colon removed because all he ate was meat.
Really?
He was one of those crazy dudes who wouldn't eat salads. He's a fucking caveman, He's this giant gorilla. He's literally like a real Viking. His fucking head is this big. He's just a giant wrestler dude. He's a savage, and he just ate meat. That's all he wanted to eat. He didn't want broccoli. Right. Fuck you with your broccoli. He's just eating steaks and just dropping people on their heads. Well, apparently, when you do that, if you have just too much protein, it can cause something in your stomach called diverticulitis, and that's what happened with him. And ultimately,
but you can get that from cucumbers. Cucumbers too. The seeds. Anything that has semi-digestible particles. Like I get the seeds in cucumbers, for instance.
Seeds in cucumbers can give you diverticulitis?
Well, yeah, because they sort of tuck off into the side there and start to irritate. It's a fascinating turn.
Whoa!
Conversation. We're going to move our way on to ulcers and then fistula, which is one of my favorite words.
Well, my the only reason we're bringing it up is that all he did was eat meat, and I always wonder that can't be good. How do these people?
Man. So look, Jesus, he was pissed off before, and now he's lost 11 inches of colon.
12.
Yeah. Now he's really pissed off.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, you have to eat. I mean, how do these cultures do it? How do they get away with just eating meat? No broccoli or no roughage?
Seriously, I think certain cultures clearly over time develop their systems around the food. I mean, you see this in the north of Canada with the Inuit people up there. They eat seal and seal fat. They need it. Their bodies have changed because of this diet to adapt to this incredible cold. I mean, it's the notion that people could ever be vegetarian in a place like that where there's not a growing thing for 1,000 miles. It's like 20 below zero. These people live because they shoot seals and eat their blubber, and you could see it in their bodies. They're able to withstand temperatures that would kill us in hours.
Jesus Christ. They also have some weird thing where their fingers don't get numb. They have incredible circulation in their fingers. They can take extreme cold that we wouldn't be able to take. It's like one of the things that they point to adaptation. It's one of the key points of adaptation that's been observed over the...
It's pretty amazing, especially when you're feeling it. I mean, when you feel cold like that for the first time, you
What's the coldest you've ever been?
That was.
What is it on? What is the number?
I don't even know. I know that if stepping outside for a minute, to have a cigarette, you have to completely suit up. It just cold's so penetrating that you really got it just a couple of minutes before you start getting hypothermic.
I know a dude who knows a dude who lives in Alaska. The guy's a cue maker. He makes pool cues. Lives way the fuck up north. He took a bucket of hot water and threw it off his back porch, and it was frozen before it hit the ground.
Wow.
Wrap your head around that shit.
Doesn't seem possible.
It is possible, apparently. Apparently, it's like 40, 50 below zero. That's what happens.
I remember up there in up there, we were all in our latest sort of Everest ready down parkas. They laughed their asses off at us when we got off the plane. We said, are we dressed well enough to go out in the canoes? And they just laughed their asses off. Had to slip a big like caribou smock over yourself on top of the down jackets to operate.
Fuck.
All our cameras locked up, like froze up and locked up within seconds of each other. After, I don't know, it must have been maybe we shot for an hour and a half. The machinery can't handle it.
Was that the most humbling feeling of nature that you've ever had while shooting a show?
Seeing a whole family, basically shoot a seal, drag it onto their kitchen floor on a tarpaulin, and then everybody in the family, mom, dad, grandma, junior, they all whip out knives and start tearing this thing apart.
And they start eating little pieces of it too.
They eat the whole thing
to each other.
And it looks like Night of the Living Dead, but it is in fact one of the most sort of genuinely heartwarming times I've had on the show. I mean, they're survivally. I mean, they're incredibly happy when they're doing this, and juxtaposing those pictures in your mind of what are clearly a close and happy family having a good time with all of this blood. That's kind of takes some getting used to. But I think when you travel a lot, you get used to the notion that people are different or live in very different circumstances.
And people adapt to those circumstances, and that's just the way it is for them.
Totally. And I think it's, because we're interested principally in food on the show, I think people everywhere have been particularly nice to us and let us see a particularly, a side of their personalities, a side of their cultures that I think a lot of other, hard journalists don't get to see. People's defenses are down. They're less likely to put up a front or be someone other than who they really are, over the table. Right away, you break bread with somebody. You drink the local drink, whatever it is. You eat whatever's offered. You try to be a good guest. I think you're going to connect with people over food in a way that you couldn't if you're just some guy with a microphone and a camera. Cameras and things, changes the situation. But the fact that I travel largely on my stomach, I think gives me like I said, an advantage.
Wow, what a fucking crazy way to live, dude. That's fascinating.
Did you go? Was it Brazil the last UFC?
I didn't go to that one.
Yeah.
I was filming Fear Factor, so I stayed home. I couldn't afford to take the 4 days off.
It's good food down there.
In Brazil, Rio?
Yeah.
I've been to Sao Paulo. I went to a real churrascaria in Sao Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty badass.
Yeah.
Like Fogo de Chao, but they had a lot more organs. In Brazil, they eat a lot of chicken hearts and things along those lines, chicken livers.
The big meal is feijoada. The whole country does it.
Feijoada?
It's basically a big stew of hooves and snouts and black beans, and it's really delicious. And it came originally from slave food. It was the scraps from the table of the wealthy Portuguese that their slaves would collect and try to make into something, edible or even delicious. And over time, they created this dish that it was the food of the very poor at one point. Now it's like the national dish. Everybody in Brazil at one point or another, Saturday, you invite the family over and you sit around eating this huge amounts of feijoada and getting really, really, really fucked up on cachaça.
Well, the episode that you had in Brazil was really wild when you were at that fish market and there's these fucking alien fish that they're all eating.
That is kooky out there. I mean, that's freshwater fish. You're in water the depth of a rice paddy. 3 feet of water, and you're driving around. You look in basically rice paddy deep water to the left, and you see a 500-pound freshwater fish, breaking the surface. It's wild. I mean, there are all of these fish and creatures and fruits and vegetables down there that never make it out of that area. So it's really, ingredient-wise, it's really another planet.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Like I said, I didn't get to eat much interesting food. I was there for the World Jiu-Jitsu Championships in 2003, so I was only there for a couple of days. But we did go to the supermarket and get these fucking alien-looking fruits. Like, I had never even seen them before, never heard of them. I had no idea what the fuck it was. I just picked up a bunch of different ones with weird seeds in them and strange flavors. And
it's a great country, great food, great culture.
It's a wild country, man.
People are really nice.
They're the country that figured out fighting. They figured it out. There was a lot of confusion as to how to fight correctly. The Brazilians were really one of the first to really figure it out. They put the first big piece to the puzzle. Jiu-Jitsu put the first big piece where everybody was like, whoa, okay, this you got to know this. Because if you don't know this, they're going to grab you and they're going to break your shit. It's really simple. So the Brazilian guys just revamped the whole system. And then wrestlers came along and kickboxers. And then people realized you have to have really a full arsenal of techniques. But if you don't have a full arsenal of techniques, if you just had one, Jiu-Jitsu is probably one of the best ones to have. And the Brazilians were the ones who figured that out. You know, when it came to, if you didn't know, back in the day, nobody knew everything because there never was anything like the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So there's never an opportunity to see what was better to know. It was just speculative. Is it better to be a boxer? Is it better to be a wrestler? Who the fuck knows? It just, nobody really knew. But the Brazilians came along and they figured out that if you only know one thing, you should know how to choke people. Because fights usually scramble. You're in a bar, you fall, you're on the ground. That you should know how to strangle a guy once you go to the ground. That's a wild culture to figure that out, man.
I love it. It's Rio's awesome. I like El Salvador, Bahia in the north. That's sort of the African heartland of Brazil, and it's where the food is sort of spiciest and richest and most interesting. There's no culture like it on earth. Aside from the fighting, it is. I don't know how anyone could actually. I don't understand how anyone works or wants to work. If you, when you get used to just hearing that music, being in a country that beautiful, food that good, everybody in that country looks like, attractive or not. Everybody in Brazil seems to look like they either just got laid and they're coming from getting laid, or they're on their way to getting laid.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's going to the beach in Brazil is amazing because you see people of every size, every hue. Just kind of the beach culture is so awesome, and I don't think there's any country where people seem to like music and dance as ferociously. It's really tough to not dance in Brazil because everybody seems to.
Wow. So is that your favorite country?
No,
is it up there?
No, but it is one of my favorite countries. There's
What's
something
the favorite?
really, really awesome about Brazil.
What's your favorite?
Favorite? I don't know. Spain. Spain's really awesome.
Spain was where you were at that restaurant. Was it El Bulli? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, but just about anywhere in Spain is going to be a special place with great food, and it's going to be beautiful. Vietnam, I love. I think that Vietnam resembles all of the places I dreamed about. When I was a little boy.
Really?
The exotic East. Well, there is that the decaying French aspect, the indigenous Vietnamese, that whole part of the world looks to me particularly beautiful, and they like food in a way that I find very sympathetic. They're passionate about it. So Vietnam, that's going to be a sentimental favorite as well.
Wow. So Vietnam, numero uno, huh? Wow.
But you could do worse than to keel over after a really good meal, to die with a big hunk of pork in your mouth in Spain would not be a bad way to go out.
Anybody that doesn't appreciate the idea of cooking as an art form should watch that show on El Bulli. Am I saying it correctly?
El Bulli, yeah.
El Bulli? That guy, wow, what a fucking wizard that guy is. So really intensely creative chef that had this small restaurant in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically it was considered the best restaurant in the world for a long time. And certainly he was a guy way out in front of everybody else. Yeah, that was some good food porn we did. And I think that was a show I'm really, every once in a while we get an opportunity to do a show that might actually mean something in a few years. And we shot, I think we shot some history with that show because the restaurant closed the same night I think that we aired the show or close to it. And that's a true artist, and it was a limited period of time, and that era is over, and we managed to get it on tape. So that's something I'm really proud of.
I was confused as to what he was doing afterwards. He was talking about
he's going to start a foundation,
people together.
Basically, it's a think tank. Essentially, he's a creative space where people from all over the world can talk to each other or meet, come up with new ideas. Trippy.
Very trippy, because I have to be honest, until I watched your show, I never thought of food as an art form. I always thought of food as
Well, no, I think your instincts are right. I think there are maybe 2 or 3 people in the world who I would say, who are maybe 2 or 3 chefs in the world who you could honestly say they're artists as opposed to really talented craftsmen. I mean, artists, somebody who's creating something completely different than anybody else.
Does it have to absolutely be completely different? Because it's almost just doing it really well and with attention to detail, and like that is art. It does come through when you have
I think there's a difference between the people who designed the great cathedrals of Europe and the people who built them. The people who built them were some of the greatest craftsmen, in the history of the world. But they were just that. They were working within an established hierarchy. They were about doing the same thing again and again and again, exactly the same. I just don't think there are that many people who, for me, the benchmark is Ferran Adrià at El Bulli. I mean, this was a guy who was like Charlie Parker or Jimi Hendrix. Nobody had ever made sounds out of a guitar before like Jimi Hendrix. No one had ever made sounds out of a horn like Charlie Parker. They were unique to history. There aren't a lot of people who will ever be that good or that different. Ferran Adrià is like those guys.
That's the high watermark for you. So there's only a few guys like that that just really are paving a path and doing their own thing.
Yeah, but what do we do now? He closed his restaurant. It was traumatizing for I think for a lot of people who looked at him.
The Michael Jordan of chefs. He's the peak of the hill, right?
Yeah.
He's the Bruce Lee of chefs.
Bruce Lee and Michael Jordan together. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. With a little bit of Dalai Lama.
Who else is left? How many guys are left?
True artists? I don't know. And I wouldn't even like to think about it. I know there's somebody out there.
There's just small handfuls.
I probably, it's probably someone whose food I've eaten, and I'm too stupid to have recognized that it was historic and great.
Well, even the craftsmen, even if you're just recreating classic dishes, I don't give a fuck. When someone's really good at it, it comes through as an art. I see what you're saying. They might not be the innovators. They might not be at the head of the field.
I mean, there are a lot of really great innovative chefs out there. But art, I set a high standard,
High standard for the
talking
word
Picasso
art.
here, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a fucking comedian, man. We call comedy art. Some people would call this the art of podcasting. It gets ridiculous.
Yeah, I will go to my grave without having created any art. I'm pretty damn sure.
Really? Oh wow, you think that? That's funny, because I think your book is art, man. You don't think that's art?
If you start talking about yourself like that, then you start talking about yourself in the third person, and after that, there's really nothing left to do but get arrested, like having beaten a transsexual hooker to death.
It's beautiful that you think like that. That's why you're you, man. It's a beautiful way to think.
That is the road to madness and incarceration.
True. Yeah, talking about yourself as an artist, stepping back. And, as an artist, I feel, as an artist, ever since I've been writing books, as an artist, yeah, it's I
don't see what I do, anything that I do is essentially that much different than standing on a line and one chef or cook among many, making food. You're building something or making something as best you can. You're showing up at work on time, doing the best job you can. Hopefully you're having fun doing it. And so they aren't that different. I don't see what telling stories on television or talking about yourself on television, I don't see as being essentially any different, or certainly no better than, actually working for a living.
Right. I see what you're saying. That you are one of those guys that, you could just be, anyone could know you as that guy that you work with a great personality, who's funny, likes to talk shit about things, kind of an interesting guy. He could be a TV star. If somebody just put a camera on him, this guy needs his own reality show. How many people do you know like that? I've known thousands of them. My friend Johnny B. My best friend was a professional pool hustler. He was halfway homeless. So he was sleeping on my couch, other people's couches, and he was a genius. He could throw math problems at him. He would recreate them. A guy like that would make a great reality show.
I think if television has taught us anything, it's that, complete mediocrity is enough to have your own reality show. There's that. It's all about your willingness to play ball. You look at those kids on Jersey Shore. Does this situation like drive a Bentley to work? And then he's got to sleep on a cot with a bunch of other boneheads.
Right.
Who he hates. You know what I mean?
Is that really how the show works? They all hang out together, right?
They all like live in a house, right? Or they used to.
During shooting season, the rest,
No, the rest. Right?
He's not taking a moped home at this point.
The way I look at him is like, good for him.
I see
what else would he be doing?
I see this as a Greek tragedy, actually. It really. I mean,
really.
The whole dynamic of the show. They're trying hard. They by now they know the terrible rules of television. It's not about looking good. They got that early on. But now it's just they know how to play ball. They got a good thing. They got a good gig, and they're milking it for as long as they can. But look at the Real Housewives chain. It's like, does anyone go on the Real Housewives thinking that they're going to look good? I mean, that's not what the show's about. It's about making people sitting on couches with a bag of chips, saying, "Man, those people are even way more fucked up than me. And what have they done to their faces? I mean, who buys that? Look at those lips. What human has lips like that?"
And that's the chick who her husband just committed suicide, and then his business partner committed suicide too.
Foul play.
You think so?
That's what everyone's saying.
It's all about showing up to work every day, knowing that your job is everyone who watches will feel better about themselves, and be snickering at me, it's my cartoonish behavior.
It is fascinating that the trend of reality television took off. That this idea of just following housewives or following guys driving on slippery roads.
Yeah.
Ice Road Truckers is a show about driving on a slippery road. How silly is that? There's auction shows and all these.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the worst thing that ever happened in history or the best.
It's weird. I don't think it's worse or the best, but it's definitely weird. It's like
I do watch some of those shows, like Jersey Shore. I can watch only about 10 minutes of it before just my eyeball starts to explode. It's just too much. It's just too horrifying and yet fascinating. So I'm good for 10 minutes of thinking this is the greatest show that ever existed. After which I can't. It's too painful.
Meanwhile, that's pretty watered down, as far as like the low level behavior of this country. Have you seen the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia?
No.
The Johnny Knoxville documentary. You got to see it. It's awesome. Johnny Knoxville.
So few of these shows have really any relationship to reality at all. They've created this alternate reality where real people are behaving like the soap opera freaks that they're expected to behave like, and so your complicity in this whole terrible process of public self-humiliation, that's kind of fascinating.
Well, not only that they also they do these fake tasks, like things happen. Oh, no, we got to get down to DMV. I'm going to lose my license. Right. Sure you are. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is like they orchestrate fake drama and fake things.
I'm waiting for the day, that I get the phone call from my agent saying, we really think celebrity rehab is a good career move for you right now. That says something. But at what point does this seem strategically like a good career move? Celebrity rehab.
Yeah, you got to be pretty fucked up, especially if you're Eric Roberts and it's just weed. That guy was the weirdest one because he got on celebrity rehab because he said he was having a problem with weed. Yeah. And then everybody else is shaking like a leaf, throwing up in sinks. He's having coffee, reading the paper. It looks like there's nothing wrong with him. Like, you don't need to be here, man.
But he knows the drill, though. He's got to have at least one freak out during the season.
Right. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Those are generally the rules of,
you get a bonus.
You're
He's just thinking cha-ching, cha-ching, Wells Fargo.
That's one of the most disturbing shows, Celebrity Rehab. Very, very, very disturbing. Hard to watch.
Wouldn't you be depressed, though? Like, if your agent called you up and said, "Listen, Joe, got a great offer, Celebrity Rehab." You're like, wow, what does it say about me? I would like go into the bathroom and stare in the mirror for a really long time, saying, oh fuck, you know,
what have I done?
That bad, right?
What have I done? Yeah.
That's why it's good to have friends back home where you're like freaking out too much. Oh my God, I'm drinking too much. What'd you do? We got wasted last night, blacked out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh, good. All right, never mind. I'm fine.
Yeah, Tony, you know, our market research has shown us that, you know, audiences really want, you know, more footage of you vomiting.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of vomiting, man, you had that one episode where you took ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Was that legit?
Yeah, I did. You know, I've taken a lot of LSD earlier in my life. So by the time I took ayahuasca for the first time, so I was like for me, it was kind of like ecstasy in the sense that I'm sitting around waiting to get off.
It didn't work?
It did, but it was a big deal, you know.
Really?
LSD, now that's a drug,
Right.
you know. That was my experience.
I think you got some low-level shit, and sometimes they do that. I've always heard that from the ayahuasqueros, that they water down the stuff they give to the gringos. They don't want anybody going crazy, running through the woods, seeing dragons and flying fucking serpents and UFOs and shit. But everybody that I know that's taken legit doses, has had crazy psychedelic vision.
Yeah, I mean, I went into the experience. You know, it's this cottage, not a cottage, it's a shack up on stilts, as I recall, out in the middle of the jungle in the Amazon. We're like 6 hours by boat from any place, like resembling a place with a hospital. No lights. So I went into the experience with the expectation that it would be like the book, where I'd be crawling around naked in the jungle, you know, shitting and puking for 6 hours before I discover my spirit animal. So this is what I thought I was going into. But honestly, I mean, you know, I got off seriously, but it wasn't like acid.
Right.
So they gave you a weak dose.
Yeah, I mean, I gather. You know, I didn't shit myself, so it was win-win, though.
How deep were you in acid? Like mini hits, or were you a 1 or 2, or did you like? Because I used to hang out with guys who would be like, I took 11 hits, and I'm like, what?
Right. No, I was not one of these guys who'd sit around like, you know, taking too much. I mean, you know when it's enough.
Right. Do you make your mushrooms into a risotto first, or do you do anything fancy?
Back in the day, we did marinate the mushrooms in honey. I think we marinated them in honey overnight or longer, and then would mix it into a big pot of hot tea, and the whole kitchen would be drinking this tea all night long.
Oh, marinate it in honey, because that's how I make it a tea. That's my new thing.
I'm not suggesting you do that. We did it.
You know, that's what they used to use to preserve mushrooms back in the day.
Honey?
Yeah, they used to preserve them in honey. They would dry them up and preserve them in honey, and they believed that that's one of the ways that people started getting into alcohol, because honey can ferment and become mead. And that, you know, that eventually, like, this is like one of Terence McKenna's theories, that people went from being intoxicant oriented, like with psychedelic mushrooms, to alcohol oriented, and that somehow or another fucked society up. And at one time we got along way better. He has this
I got a great bit of history, actually, and I was reading about coffee lately. You know, that when the first coffee houses in England were quickly declared illegal by the government. They saw these as hotbeds of sedition, and they closed them down. Why? Because up until that point in history, most Europeans and most people in England would wake up in the morning and drink mead. That's all they drank all day long. It was basically, you know, crude beer, homemade beer. So up until this point in history, when people started drinking coffee in these coffee houses, everybody in Europe could be counted on to be fucked up all day long. So coffee houses were the first place in Europe where people would sit around in a state of sobriety. And as people tend to do, you know, when you're sober, you notice shit. And they're like, hey, have you noticed our government's like really fucking us? So the government was right, of course, because this was the first time that people were actually drinking a beverage and hanging out with their wits about them. And that was seen as a really dangerous thing. Food for thought.
That's fascinating. Well, that's exactly what's going on with marijuana in this country. They're trying to keep that away from people. A good percentage of it is they're worried about people waking up. They're worried about people.
If I was like, you know, if I was president and wanted to be like reelected, if it was a really bad president, or I'd want people to smoke, you know, marijuana. You know, basically, you know, who smokes weed? Or generally, we're talking. Yeah, everybody.
In California, everybody.
Yeah, but people who smoke. I mean,
back home, every
you got
is there a correlation between weed smoking and voting?
Yeah.
Frequency of voting. That's what I'm wondering.
The only way.
You know, do people like? Is there a huge "I flaked" factor?
Oh, for sure.
You know, it's like some comedian was talking about this thing. I don't know who did it. It was the whole bit about why it's will never be voted in as legal, because all the most fervent supporters will forget to show up.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know who said it, but it was really funny.
Yeah. That is true. A good percentage. Well, you know, this my take on the amount of potheads that are useless is just like my take on the amount of regular people that are useless. There's a certain percentage, whether it's 20 or 30, or if you're pessimistic, up to 50% of people that are just fucking useless. And it doesn't matter if you give them marijuana. It doesn't matter if you get them drunk. They're just low watt brains.
Yeah, because I think to change the law, you need 100% turnout.
Yeah,
that's going to be tough.
But I've had some people that I know that have gotten to pot like late in life, and it's completely changed the way they look at things, like for the better. You know, it helps them. Like look at Kevin Smith. Didn't start smoking weed until 3 years ago.
Look at you.
Look at me.
I can think of a lot of public figures out there who would probably have benefited from early use of psychedelics. And
unquestionably, yeah. I mean, Steve Jobs always talks about that you know, one of the most powerful experiences in his life was tripping on acid.
I think someone would respond well. I think John McCain would be a different and more interesting person if he'd done acid at some point in his life.
Oh, for sure, yeah. For sure, and he wouldn't be so scared. He would have others
I'd be worried about. I would be very worried about giving Michelle Bachmann acid. That's some squeaky Frome shit right there.
I would be worried about giving her husband acid.
Oh man,
acid and Viagra, and then run.
But I would like to do acid with Bill Clinton.
Dude, do you know who Michelle Bachmann's husband is? Do you know what we're talking about?
Listen, I'd be shocked if, by the way, if Bill Clinton hadn't done acid.
Oh no,
he must have done acid.
Definitely, he still does.
Yeah, that was all that nonsense that he didn't inhale.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's back in the day. But you know, after his I did not have sex with that woman, all that I did not inhale really lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, I'll never forgive him for that, actually. Just, you know, I don't care, you know, everything that he was accused of, like, I'm pretty okay with. Treat me like an idiot, though. Yeah. I really found unforgivable, you know? I really found that despicable and can never forgive. I did not have sex, you know, with that woman.
Stupid.
Technically, you know, right. It's just so bad. What I understand as sexual relations is what I understand the term to be. For me, it's unforgivable.
Yeah, it's. I also wish that he had stepped up and said, "It's none of your fucking business." I wish he had said, "This is a ridiculous private matter, and you're trying to make it a big circus."
It's really amazing. Like it seems like the smarter you are, and the higher you are in the public eye, the more powerful you are, the more likely you are to behave like the stupidest person to ever be on like Law and Order. You know. It's like
20-year-old girls.
Did you not say in your previous deposition that you did not have? And yet, readily available to your arresting officers. You know, yeah. It's just so. They believe that some alternate reality, you know, exists. You know, once the Inquirer has got their hooks into you, it's time to let it hang out. You know,
I think certain people become delusional when they hit a certain level of notoriety, like the President of the United States. I mean, that level must be so intoxicating. And when you're already kind of crazy, which most people who run to become president in the first place, you got to be at least a little bit fucking crazy. And then all of a sudden you're there, and the whole world is paying attention to you every moment. You just feel like you could just stick your dick in someone's mouth. It's like, what's the big deal?
I'd be
stick it in there.
I was thinking my first order in my first thing in office, you know, I'm the president, is by decree. I would make sure there was an In-N-Out burger in New York City. We would need many chains, many outlets of In-N-Out.
You're that much of a fan of In-N-Out burger?
Yeah, I would. I would use the power of the government to make sure that happens.
You love them that much?
I'm bitter that we don't have them in New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have Five Guys? Do you have Five Guys burgers?
Yeah, I think we do.
Five Guys burger is pretty fucking good.
I'm a sentimental guy about this.
Really?
Stuff. It's exotic to me. I mean, I know there's better burgers out there, but it's something I like about it.
You just get hooked on certain tastes?
Yeah, and I kind of like that their business model just goes against against the grain.
Yeah, it's a good business model. It's kind of interesting.
We always try to shoot there, and they never let us shoot
in there.
We've had difficulties.
Really?
Yeah, but we got a shot.
What about the Chick-fil-A guy? You ever try to shoot at his place? He's a guy that doesn't open on Sunday because it's the Lord's Day.
Right.
All the Chick-fil-A's are closed on Sunday.
So like,
That's the Lord's Day.
Am I kind of voting by eating their chicken? You know, anyway. You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
Right.
In the end, does it really matter?
Yeah, right.
Does it really matter?
I don't know. If they're just a really evil corporation, you know that they're like, all of their products are made by imprisoned children somewhere.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, probably
that matters.
Yeah.
But the Chick-fil-A guy who believes in the baby Jesus, he doesn't want to work on Sunday. Who gives a shit?
Oh yeah, I think the In-N-Out Burger guys there was a religious component to the company at some point, an underlying philosophy. But the point is, they've apparently created this like really pretty cool business model for fast food, and it's an issue that I think about a lot because I don't know which economist, somebody smarter than me, another 15 years we're going to be a country. Everybody in the country will all be selling cheeseburgers to each other. That will be what Americans do. We don't make anything anymore, really. Manufacturing has dropped to nothing. We're into making Transformers 7 and selling each other burgers.
Before the economy even collapsed, Putin was quoted as saying, "I don't understand the American economy. It seems that all they do is sell houses to each other."
Well, he was right about that.
He's fucking right.
He's right about that. But I mean, truthfully, what is our best export?
Is
our
war.
No, honestly, no. It's culture.
Culture?
It is. Yeah.
War's pretty close second.
I think music.
For
music,
sure.
TV, and
comedy.
movies. It is our most powerful weapon and our most powerful. I think it's what we do best. For better or worse. I mean.
I agree 100%, especially, television and films. I mean, as opposed to other countries. Every now and then another country will make a good movie. But goddamn, there's a giant chunk of them that come from this fucking wacky place.
Yeah.
Do you ever go someplace where you go, ooh, being from America might be kind of touchy here?
There have been places where I thought that was going to happen, where in fact we were treated really, 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 really well.
Like where? Where'd you worry?
Well, everywhere in the Arab world, the hospitality's been unbelievable. Saudi Arabia, I was, apprehensive. They take a lot of Saudis have a very different view of the world than I do, for sure. But no, I think everywhere I've been, again, it's kind of about people have been incredibly hospitable in places that I didn't expect up front they would have any particular love for Americans. Vietnamese were incredible from the first time I went there. A lot of bad history there. I even asked at one point, I turned to somebody I was with, I said, "Aren't you guys pissed? Aren't you cranky about anything?"
Yeah.
And they're like, don't flatter yourself, dude. Life's hard out here. Don't consider yourself special. Since we fought the Chinese, the Cambodians, the Chinese again. Before you, there was the French, the Japanese, the Chinese. We've been at war for 600 years. You were only around for X. So they took a really professional kind of long view. Basically, if we stop fighting this week, next week you're welcome at my house. We'll hang out. We'll talk shop. We'll get fucked up. Tell some jokes. Yeah.
Wow.
Generally speaking, so that's a place where people have been really hospitable, and I didn't expect it. Well, a lot of places. We shot at favelas in Rio, and basically, very poor, very crime-ridden areas of Rio and Buenos Aires. A place you have to sort of hook up with the local crime guy, whoever the mayor of the block
is.
The mayor. No. This is our fixer will contact us. If you want to shoot in this area, you're going to need somebody, a local godfather or the head of the crew or whoever controls that area in the real world. We have to contact them and say, listen, we're going to make a point of coming at you, showing you respect, offering you a few dollars, because it's never about the money. And we'll get to wander around and shoot your whole area of your city without fear of being shot or stabbed or robbed. And we do that again and again. And again, we just show the respect of acknowledging, for better or worse, you are the boss of this neighborhood. We're going to show you respect in front of your neighbors, and you will keep us from getting shot while we're shooting in your neighborhood. Again, it's just about, we're not paying people. It's people are proud of their food. Chances are they're proud of their neighborhood. They're proud of their friends. If somebody expresses interest in telling their story or showing the world what they do, particularly if there's food involved and local beverage, chances are you're going to have a good time. You're going to be treated well in this world.
One of the most kind of heartwarming, really cool, homey moments was when you were in Naples and that guy took you into his house for Sunday dinner, and it was sort of a last-minute thing.
Oh, it was totally last minute. Our fixer had hooked us up with a family. You know, I know a friend of a friend, and that fell through at the last minute. And you know, literally, I'm in the car with my driver. He says, "Oh, you just come over to my mother's house. My mother will cook for you. Sure, she'll be on TV. I'll tell her tomorrow."
It was perfect.
And it was one of those. The minute we walk in, I knew this woman is like made for television. She was just so completely real and awesome and tough. She's like chain smoking while she's cooking, stirring the sauce.
She had this way of talking.
She's bullying me.
She was talking about her sauce.
She was so amazing.
Oh man, that was you couldn't put that in an Adam Sandler movie. People would think you were too over the top.
It's really great when you get lucky when you're shooting and something really amazing happens. You meet.
And the food looked fucking jamming. The way that meat was boiling in that sauce. Yeah. Oh, it was bubbling. You knew it was on for hours. You knew it was just going to just melt in your mouth.
That show was one of those where it totally did not suck making that show.
Yeah,
you know,
fuck.
and everybody on the crew gains like 5 pounds.
I gained 5 pounds watching your fucking show. I eat at night when everybody's asleep. That's when I watch your show. I cook something and then I'll sit in front of your show and eat way more than I should.
What I do generally is if I know I'm shooting in Rome or Naples, anywhere in Italy, or Eastern Europe, you know, in dumpling land, you know, I'll make sure that the next show is in, you know, someplace really impoverished,
Sproutland,
right? Or with a really, like, maybe Vietnam, someplace with a pretty light cuisine, you know, where you
so you balance it out.
Yeah, we learned our lesson. I think we did Brittany and Provence in a row, you know. So the whole crew were all together for like 18 days in France on a food show. So, you know, we're ordering just like lots of stuff. Everyone on the crew gained like 8-10 pounds. You know?
How is it that people in France with their incredibly rich diets are thin? They're way thinner than Americans.
They move.
Is that what it is?
They move around a lot. Yeah, they're always pedaling around and shit, walking around, doing all this crazy kooky European shit.
Pedaling around and shit.
You know, they walk. They're active. They're not a sedentary society.
But I always see them in cafes.
But you know, look how they the same with the Italians. They don't eat breakfast really. Maybe they'll have a tiny nibble of a muffin or a croissant, and a couple of shooters of coffee. They get really jacked on coffee. They get through. You know, maybe they'll take a nip of something. Maybe around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they knock off for a couple of hours and eat a huge motherfucking meal and a lot of wine. Then they go back to work, and they work till like 7 or 8 or 9 sometimes. Then they have maybe a light supper. You know, generally speaking, we're talking average. Then a very light supper. You know, they're not sitting down and doing it all again. It's all about either lunch or dinner. You know, so they're really eating only one big meal a day.
A friend of mine went to
and they're not eating deep fried fucking macaroni, you know, deep fried macaroni and cheese,
though. It's
or
so good though.
You know, cheeseburgers between donuts, or you know, they don't do that.
A buddy of mine went to the Lamborghini factory. He, you know, my friend Bud, who owns that show Rides, they filmed the construction of a Lamborghini, and he came back. The first thing he said is, "Those fucking people know how to live." He goes, "Let me tell you something. First of all, they go to work about 10:30. No one's there at like 7 a.m. They get in, they work for a little bit, then they eat a spectacular lunch where they have chefs come in and make them the most incredible pasta, and then they sleep for a couple hours, and they come back in and they work for a couple more hours,
That's awesome.
and then they're done. No one's working like 12 hours days at the Lamborghini factory. They're just artists making these incredible. Why can't we? Is it possible to sustain 300 million people and have that sort of a work ethic? It's because, God damn, this would be a way better place. You know, for a regular job. I mean, if you're working on your own shit, you should be able to do whatever you want.
It's something I ask all the time. You know, my wife's Italian, as you know, and I spend a lot of time there, and I look around at, you know, guys in their 20s and 30s, and how do you live? I'm constantly asking myself, how do you live this way? Who's giving you money? Nobody seems to really. People do work hard in Italy, but you just tend to not see it. And you're having this big motherfucking lunch every day, and I mean, maybe a little gelato at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're getting your weeks of vacation a year. You know, in France and in Italy too. You know, you get sick in the middle of the night, you pick up a phone. It's call a doctor, and like 15 minutes later, some young intern arrives on a motor scooter and shoots you up with whatever drugs you need to feel better
at your house.
And it's like free or close to free. They don't even take tips. It's fucking nuts.
Wow. They come to your house.
They will come to your house.
Old doctor bag and just
can you imagine this? And they come quick.
That's what happens when you have a small culture. When you have a culture of too many millions of people, you have the diffusion of responsibility thing. The numbers are too big, and there's no way you could rock that.
I don't
rock that.
I don't know. Listen, I still I don't know how they do it, but they do it. The priorities are very, very different. But I'll tell you, quality of life does not suck.
Does not suck. And how many people live there total?
I don't know.
It's not that many, right?
I don't know. You asked me population of France or Italy.
So is it like a couple million each? What is it?
I have no idea.
It's not like a major American city, right? I just think
there are countries in Europe with fewer people than New York City. That's
for sure. Yeah. I mean, New York City is the most amazing city on the planet, but I just think that any time you jam that many people in one spot, you're asking for some unnatural reactions. You know?
I don't know. I'm fascinated by how well New York works. It's incredibly efficient, I mean, by and large. Just watching taxis, like one of the things I love doing in New York is driving. Everyone else hates to drive in New York. I love driving in New York. I love how traffic, these cars should be smacking up against each other, particularly the way the taxis drive when they're bombing up an avenue, looking to hit the lights, changing lanes without even touching their directionals. There's something really mystically cooperative about the way it all works. There's an ebb and flow to New York City traffic that when you get up into that wave, it's
like birds in the dusk sky.
Nice. Yeah,
and those big waves when birds fly in those big waves and they don't hit each other.
Coming from like downtown where you hit every light,
I've been hit by cabs though. I used to drive in New York. Cabs hit me twice and they bolted both times. Those fucks.
I've been hit by cabs. I've been in a cab and been T-boned twice. In like 3 days.
God damn. Twice in 3 days.
Having never been involved in anything like that, twice in 3 days a few years back. And,
wow.
Was it both on the same side or two double sides and it evened you out? Or?
Wow.
I just got out and jumped into another cab. It was one of those things. No one was hurt.
Shit. So it was a light T-bone.
Well, it was nobody was driving away. One guy did drive away, but on rims it was a stolen car, and there was clearly it appeared to be a stolen car because the guy got out of there awful quick on rims.
New York City is just such a fascinating experiment. Just stack people on top of each other, all in this one place, and have all pretty much anything you need right there.
Do you own a restaurant?
No. I was a chef at a restaurant for many years. I'm still involved with them in
When was the last time you were in the weeds?
11 years.
11 years.
Yeah, it's been 11
years.
Is
it in the weeds? Did you just give him shop talk?
Yes.
It's been 11 years since I've been on the line regularly, since I've had to show up and actually work a station every day.
Yeah, it was a fun show when you did go back to your New York City restaurant. How do you say it? Les Halles?
Les Halles, yeah.
Les Halles?
And you come to terms very quickly with your own mortality and your limitations. I tried to work my old double shift. I did work my old double shift, and I made it. But I think it was 54, 53 when I went back and did that show. And I'd been away for almost 10 years. It is like riding a bicycle in that you could still do it. But your brain, when you're a chef, I think your brain starts to turn to mush in your late 30s. You become less smart, less fast, less able to do 12, 13 things at the same time. Your brain starts to fry.
That is a big part of what being a chef is, not just about the artistry of preparing the food, but of juggling all these different things, and timing them.
That's 80% of it. I mean, even the great artists, the great chefs, they're great chefs because they're able to choose people, make personal and professional relationships with those people such that they can execute their vision, their artistic vision, again and again and again, exactly the same every single day, rain or shine.
And working in high tension, close quarters, everybody.
So you're talking about a leader.
Fast.
A chef is a cook who leads, and a great chef is one who is both someone who's really creative and has a for lack of a better word, artistic style or vision or something to say, but the ability to inspire loyalty and good performance in others is key. Absolutely. You know, you could be the best cook in the world. If you can't inspire others to execute that, you ain't worth shit.
I never got this from any other show before I watched your show. Before I watched your show, I got, oh, that guy cooks good food. I really did. I mean, I'm compartmentalized. I don't have enough room in my brain for everything. You know, I can't focus on everything. So I'd see certain things and I learn as little as I need to know. Oh, I like this kind of food. Oh, that tastes good. Oh, that guy's a good cook. Awesome. Eat his food. I never thought about it in terms of the complexity or the effort that goes into it. I really never thought about it that much until your show. That's why it was so fascinating to me.
It's hard. It's hard on glamorous work. You know, so by the time the chef becomes the chef that you know, by the time you know their name, chances are they're not working the line anymore, but that they spent most of their adult lives standing there doing something that is very similar in many ways to work in a production line in an auto factory. You know, you're putting the nuts and the bolts in the same places, presumably every time and just as well.
And then one guy pops out like a Wolfgang Puck or the Emerald dude had his own fucking sitcom.
Well, you know, guys like Emerald didn't pop out, actually. I mean, that's a guy who worked his ass off for a really long time in restaurants, became well-known, was offered a show, wasn't particularly good at it. He had one show after another fail, and the network stuck with him, and he's, more importantly, he's stuck with it, and he became a very improbable, you know, superstar. You know, if you look at those early shows, it's just, you know, he does everything, so many things wrong as far as what you expect of a classic, you know, TV-friendly guy. You know, he's got the thick accent. He's kind of a little awkward up there. That was really charming, and he really, audiences liked that. But you know, he worked his ass off getting there. He didn't just sort of, he wasn't like me, an overnight success guy. You know, he was drilling away for years.
But what I meant by it is that all of a sudden he's forced into the public consciousness that he's launched like Emeralds. Like there's a few guys. There's like the Wolfgang Pucks. There's, if you're not paying attention, these are the guys that you hear about. If you're not paying attention,
well, because they're both guys who've been around a long time and done really important things both off TV and on TV.
But it's interesting that they love him for his personality. So like, your personality is so good, we're going to ask you to fake it now.
It's
ask you to be in a sitcom.
Well, for a long time, you know, a lot of chefs got into the business because they were awkward. They felt awkward. They were shit at words, or generally didn't feel comfortable in a straight business environment. Chances are they're kind of running away from something. They sense something about themselves that said all of the things that tell you subconsciously, bad communicator, you know, shouldn't be out there talking to regular people on a regular basis, trying to do normal business. Those are the things that drove people to cook, and yet suddenly they find themselves, you know, with media coaches and people trying to train them to be themselves on camera, and it's a huge industry and a strange one.
Yeah, I read a quote once where you said that the guys that got into becoming chefs were the second smartest sons.
Well, traditionally in European culture, you know, if the family could only afford to send one kid to college, they'd pick the smartest son and they'd invest what little money they had in that enterprise. The other one would join the family business or go to hotel school to learn. You'd learn to be an apprentice to some craft, you know, some trade. And for a lot of people, that was hotel school. So a lot of the great chefs, they came out of that kind of situation. And certainly when I started cooking, it was the misfits who ended up in the restaurant business. You know, life hadn't exactly turned out the way they'd expected, or maybe there's a quick, you know, a temporary, you know, there's always a job for you if you're presentable, reasonably intelligent. There's always a job for you on the floor of a restaurant as a waiter. And
you take joy in that, though, right? You take joy in being one of the misfits.
Oh, I mean, it's why I got in the business. It was running away with the circus. It was fellow misfits and refugees who really just couldn't hack it anywhere else, ended up in this enterprise.
See, that was the first time I'd ever seen it or heard it described like that. I was listening to you talk about it. I'd never thought of working in a kitchen to be like that.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think how many people have worked in restaurants at one point or another in life? It is an education. It's one of the things there's so many things to love about it that are special about it. You see people again and again. I used to see these guys. They come out of like the mountains of Afghanistan, like or the tribal areas of Pakistan. Really, conservative background. Never been any city until they came to New York. They're working in a restaurant as busboys. 4 weeks later, it's that motherfucker, cocksucker, son of a bitch, rat bastard. They basically have immediately adopted sort of the worst of New York culture as a speech. But they're also, you get so smart about human behavior when you're a busboy or a waiter. You see so much of it. It's like being a bartender. You learn way more about human nature than you want to learn. You didn't sign up to be a psychiatrist, or an enabler, or a doctor. But in the end, that's kind of what you become if you're a bartender with regulars. So I think people in the restaurant business get this really unique view of the world, perspective on the rest of the world.
Yeah, it is a unique position to be a bartender, to be the sober person serving everyone drinks while they're all just falling apart and talking to you.
It gets to some people. I could use one.
Want a beer?
It gets to some people. I knew a bartender who I'd be drinking with him. I'd do my shift drink with him after I worked a lunch service. And this guy was telling me, after 10, 12 years in the business, I don't know if I could do this much longer, man. I just don't know if I could do it. And I said, why? He says, watch this. He takes 3 glasses and I guess he presses them in the sponge, rims them with kosher salt, and puts them under the bar. This old lady comes in, sits down. I like a salty dog. He pours his salty dog. She drinks it. She orders another. He has a second glass for her. She drinks it. Then she gets up. She says, "Okay, that's enough for me." Gets up, makes it halfway to the door. Looks at the ground. Second thoughts. Goes back to the bar. Orders a third. Point is, he had the 3 glasses ready. He knew this woman is an alcoholic. Okay, I am helping her on her way to her ultimate destruction, and I can't hack it. But I have too many customers like this.
Well, ultimately, if you're in the bar every night, bars are great once a week. Bars are great once a month. If you can, once a month, if you stay healthy and you're feeling good, your immune system's up, you've been eating vitamins and eating well, you just get fucked up. Let's do it. Come on, everything's good. But if you're doing that every night.
Oh, it'll cure you if a nightclub's real fast is working in a nightclub. And I worked in a nightclub, and that was it. I will never, never again. Any place where it's like ding, ding, ding in the background, I'm already out the other door.
Yeah, I did some security work at a concert center in Massachusetts, Great Woods. You got to see people at like Neil Young concerts and just people fucked up in the crowd. I would never want to be a part of anything like that. I knew that at like 19. I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
This place I worked at, they were sued like 2-3 times a week, which I guess you are when you're in the nightclub business, because there's always some boneheads, who come in, pick a fight, bouncers throw them out. Already there's a lawsuit. It doesn't mean it's a credible one, but people are going to be suing you. Your competition are going to be suing you. The fire department is going to be harassing you. It's just brutal.
It's amazing that people can sell alcohol at all. It's amazing. It's amazing, that people can afford to have bars. People can afford to sell alcohol at all. Because you would think that people getting drunk would cause so many fucking problems they could be sued for.
It was an education. I think it was like 2 years at this very busy New York nightclub. And just the stuff that people would leave in the bathrooms, or try to flush down the toilet. We had the night cleanup guy would always come by the kitchen with his discoveries of the night before. It was a fucking artificial limb.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And it was the women's rooms were actually always worse. Way worse. People were like just doing. It's just this incredible. Horrifying, museum in there. It tells a story of human behavior that you just don't want to know.
It's fucking alcohol, man. Yeah. Wind them up and set them loose.
Yeah.
I had a buddy who did his residency in Miami, and he said on Friday and Saturday nights, people would come in with light bulbs up their asses, just impossible things, just mostly shoved up their asses, bullet holes. People just popping off. It really, truly is amazing that you can sell alcohol and you can't sell weed. It's what a beautiful thing they've done.
Yeah, it makes no sense at all. Plus, we grow such good weed in this country. It would be a huge and major export. I mean, who grows better weed than us?
Nobody. There's no better botanist than these Southern California assholes. These guys, assholes, I say it with all love. What they've done now is incredible. Look at this shit. This is a marijuana electric cigarette.
Perfect for plane bathrooms.
You could smoke this on a plane.
Wow.
It's one of those electronic cigarettes, and it's got weed in it. They're fucking scientists.
Wow.
They're taking it to the next level. But
Science is great.
It is amazing. But unfortunately, they're still getting arrested for it. There's still people that are getting... Apparently, Obama said that he was only going to go after people who violate both federal and state law.
Right.
But I don't know if that's been... It's probably pretty easy to violate state law, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should if we're going to do it, if we're going to allow people to smoke weed, that we should be making money off it
Fuck yeah.
as a nation.
Yeah.
We should be selling serious weight to like Europe and
Do you ever go to Mexico?
Yeah, I love Mexico.
Do you ever go to like border towns?
I've been.
I mean, like, what do you like the situation?
Well, we just did a show. We just did a show there. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You know, what we would consider apocalyptic violence. I mean, I think more people have been killed in Mexico during the drug wars than you know. I think both Gulf wars and Afghanistan. I mean, there's some spectacular number of people slaughtered down there in
American troops,
huge numbers. What I have not a clue what to do. It doesn't help that we're selling them guns, but there is no doubt that people that they would get them from somewhere. I've never seen it. The many times I've been in Mexico,
What's your favorite place in Mexico?
Oh, I love Puebla. I love.
You've never seen any drug violence at all?
I have not seen up close drug violence. I have been in I've been in like super druggy neighborhoods in favelas in Brazil and elsewhere, but
not in Mexico.
I was with the local dealer. I guess that's what I'm saying. I mean,
but does that work in Mexico? Could you do something?
Could you safely go to a cartel neighborhood with a cartel guy? Man, the level of violence is so spectacular there. I wouldn't want to be complicit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're currently chopping people's heads off by the dozens. It's another. It's one thing.
Have you ever been around someone like that in another country? Inadvertently?
I've met people. I have met people and done scenes of my show with people who have done very, very bad things in their lives. No question about it. They were not currently at the time of the show. Other than, there were some low-level guys for sure who clearly were drug dealers. They said as much. They said, "Could you please shoot just this side of the street, because this side is my drug operation." Well, you make concessions, compromises, morally and otherwise when you take advantage of a situation like that. The only way you're going to shoot the neighborhood is to have a local drug dealer hold your hand. That's what you do, or you choose not to, depending. And in Mexico, the level of violence is so spectacular, and they see presumably the major dealers out there are killing large numbers of people on a regular and ongoing basis. I would feel bad. That's not an arrangement I'd enter into.
And would you have to go into some sort of a similar arrangement if you were ever to go to the Congo? Would you have to make an arrangement with the rebels?
Good question. Well, who's the rebel? So there's what
does that even mean?
There are a lot of different.
Saying the rebels.
Well, there are various militias. For sure. You got to ask yourself that all the time. But in the same way, when people are trying to be really nice to you in countries where you're not free to speak your mind, Cuba would be an example. China, up near the Tibetan border.
When you were in
you
Cuba,
have to understand when you're talking to people on camera who've let you into their homes and they fed you and they've got they've been maybe a little more frank with you on a personal level than they are probably supposed to as government functionaries. When they're good to you and everything they said was going to happen the way it was supposed to, and they weren't too clumsy and they didn't try to ham fist you. Basically, if we get to go back to New York, they have to stay there. So if I go back and start criticizing as severely as I might, it's something I always have to weigh. All the people who were good to me in these countries, they're going to be in a very bad place if I go back to New York and make the show all about China, Tibet. I may have my opinions on it, but for the sake of the people I leave behind, I'm not shooting my mouth off. I can say what I want about China anytime I want. And I suffer no consequences. anyone who was ever nice to us will be suspect if I were to start really going off on a tangent on the issue on the show that these people helped me make. Same in Cuba. You do make certain compromises because people are as straight with you as they can be. They do the best by you. They're people who are nice and with senses of humor, is trying to do the best they can, whether you agree with their system or despise it. At the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, do I really want to put, it might make more entertaining or truthful television, but they're going to be in a fucking cell for the crime of being nice to me or being honest with me. That's something we got to ask ourselves all the time.
Well, I know you couldn't put that in the show, like the show on Cuba, but is there anything that you could? Is there anything you could talk about?
Well, I could have gone on and on about the history of the regime and what they've done.
Right.
Many of them incredibly unpleasant, to say the least. I didn't make the show about that. I kept it I tried very hard to keep the focus on, does it look pretty? Is it worth looking at? Is the food good? Are the people nice? Well, they were. Really tried to avoid any politics at all. But
what was amazing
what's political is, it's always political when you sit down to eat, because the fact that they're not eating much beyond rice and beans, that is already a political statement. That says a lot more about a culture than they may want you to see. It's dangerous information, but there it is.
So were they allowed to complain about that at all? Were they cautious about doing that? Did they make sure that they didn't say anything they could?
No, they let us shoot. They let us shoot pretty much anything we asked to shoot. They let us shoot. I think they clearly trusted us. They saw us show other parts of the world in a relatively non-judgmental way, and they, foolishly or not, shrewdly or foolishly, there will be differences of opinion, I'm sure. For whatever reason, they trusted us to come, and they pretty much let us wander around shooting.
What kind of clearance do you have to get?
They tried, of course. There was definitely concern over who we'd be talking to and what they might say. But everybody has to be careful about what they say there. Everybody changes their behavior when they talk to you to a certain extent. You don't bring up certain subjects because they're going to worry.
Does the government have any say? Do they pull you aside? Do they say, what is it? How are you going to show Cuba?
We had arranged all of this through the government. I mean, nothing happens. You don't go wandering around Cuba with a television crew without the government becoming involved,
right? Whether
you know it or not.
But did you get involved in any of the questions that they asked about the? Because you obviously have a major creative influence.
No, they don't. We're not making any show ever where the nation or the local police or any other person has final cut or approval over what we're showing. No, you obviously have approval over what we're allowed to shoot, but how we edit that back in New York and what we say, you're on your own. It's too late. Done. You've signed the release. That ain't ever going to happen.
Did they express any concern about any of that? It seems like, Cuba's pretty touchy.
They were I think they're being very shrewd about tourism. They understand what it is that people want to see in Cuba, which is the old Cuba of Godfather 2. That's what we want to see, and it's still there. And they've been really smart about not fucking that up. So these aren't stupid, unsophisticated people. You're commie functionaries, okay? They understand they have a problem. I think everybody understands that the regime is, things are going to change. I think everybody's kind of holding their breath in the country, waiting to see what happens next. And I think what happens next is completely and blindingly obvious to everyone.
Castro dies, they open everything up.
Pretty damn quick, yeah.
And then everything gets way better for the Cuban people. Sort of.
Yes, I assume.
You're going to lose certain things, though. You're going to lose those guys arguing.
It's easy for me to say I really don't want to see a brand new Holiday Inn on the waterfront of the Malecon in Havana, because it's one of the most beautiful stretches of anywhere. But that's easy for me to say. I'm not Cuban. I didn't lose my home. I have to say I had no moral problems going to Cuba. Let's put it that way. But I've since met a lot of Miami Cubans who take a very different view of going to Cuba. And it has been pointed out to me, one guy came up to me and we were shooting at his restaurant. It was just a complete coincidence after our Cuba show aired. This guy was pissed. It had clearly been a big issue at his house. He was really struggling to contain his anger and be courteous, which he was incredibly courteous. And he said, I just need you to look at this picture. And he takes me back and shows a picture of his dad, who ran he sold fish. So I'd always thought that, the people who lost their homes and ran off to Miami, were all, the rich, the bastards, basically. This was what this man was telling me. My father was an ordinary businessman, who'd worked hard, selling fish, catching fish and selling fish. And they took his business and ended his livelihood. That's something, it was a very hard show to balance, let's put it that way.
I'd imagine it's got to be so strange to just hop from one culture to the next, one unique insight into this totally different environment, and then another one just as extremely different.
We're really hoping to shoot in Libya in January. We'd hope to shoot in September.
You had talked to me about this at the UFC.
We want it so bad. I mean, ideally, we would have been there when they got Gaddafi, But I have friends there who've been in and out. People we've worked with in some of the dicier places. We work with some very interesting security guys, and some of them have been working in Libya lately. And we were getting sort of dispatches of what life's like there. And these are hardened professionals who've been around. They've been in a lot of wars. They've seen a lot of conflicts. In many ways, you would probably call them mercenaries in an earlier day. But they were really sentimental about Libya. Like they were like, dude, it's awesome what's happening here. You should come. It's like all these young people from all over the world, of Libyan background. They're all coming here and like welding machine guns on their pickup trucks. And there's this really magical thing. I'm actually thinking of pitching in. Apparently, it's nice to see the bad guys actually lose, right?
It is if it's that clear,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what I'm getting at. Where not a lot of people would look at Gaddafi and say, "Well, that." I would be unhappy to see his head being kicked across a public square. I wouldn't be unhappy seeing that, And I don't think.
Yeah, Gaddafi's about as big a piece of shit in the world of rulers as you can get. He's a nice villain. He wears a good black hat.
It's a feel good for everybody, and they're doing it basically. There's NATO support, but they're basically doing it themselves.
Do you remember that guy, General Wesley Clark? Remember that guy who ran for president a while back?
Yep.
He predicted all of this in 2007 on it was one of those CNN or one of those fucking shows where he got on and he talked about the United States' agenda as far as acquiring natural resources all over the world, and Libya was right in the pile. Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, it was all these different countries and he described it all in 2007. And slowly but surely, all these things are getting implemented.
I think what we're seeing in Egypt and Libya and Syria and Tunisia, I think actually what we're seeing is something we didn't predict. We didn't make it happen. It's happening. It's in many ways frightening to us. I mean, I think the fact that all these governments are toppling is not necessarily good for our American business interests. I happen to think it's a really good thing. I'm happy to see it. Like, I don't really care what kind of psychos take over Egypt. Just the fact that, even if bad guys end up running Egypt again, the fact that it was possible that they could topple those particular bad bastards who'd been around forever. It was unthinkable a year ago to your average Egyptian that their government, that things would ever change, ever, in their lifetime or their children's lifetime. And it wasn't unthinkable that these dynasties would ever fall. So it's really kind of awesome. Just the fact that it sends a message that it can happen. I think it's a good one. I don't think it falls into the I'm waiting for that big payday from Iraq that was supposed to, are we supposed to be pumping their oil straight into American coffers right now? That ain't going to happen.
I think, it depends on who you're paying attention to or who you want to believe when it comes to that world. But, there's a lot of people that believe that we've hit some sort of a peak oil stage. And what they're trying to do is just control all the areas which will be absolutely necessary when oil gets to the point where we're going to have to start rationing things.
We're doing a really bad job then, because the Chinese are basically snapping it all up. I mean, everywhere you go in Africa now, it's like, oh, look at the nice new bridge we have. The Chinese bought and paid for it.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, like it's amazing. Every major infrastructure development that you see in places like Liberia, other African countries you've been to, it's like, oh, those really thoughtful Chinese were here. And,
thoughtful Chinese.
And they bought all our oil. They'll need 50% of the world's oil, I think, in like another, maybe it's 10 years, soon.
Holy shit.
China alone will need. When I first went to China, it was like everybody's on bicycles and there's cars. Second time I went, it's like 50-50. Now it's just cars as far as
And how much time has this been?
10 years.
Wow.
So
it's just accelerating in China.
It is, what do they say on The Simpsons? Welcome, future masters.
So
future overlords, and we welcome you.
So is it just the way they handle business is different in China now? Because they were much more strict as far as commerce and things, right? They had much more rules.
Well, they've had communism on their necks,
right?
But I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like, wait a minute, you want to make China like a competitive free market? It's like, are you out of your minds? They'll kill us. Then they're really dangerous because there's a lot of them. They work really hard. They're willing to work to get things. That's already an advantage over we're entitled. We feel entitled. Times have been good for us. I grew up of a generation where we were taught that automatically, our lives would be better than our parents. I took that as religious, dictum. That was straight from God. Okay, I was disappointed somewhat, but I'm lazier than most of the people I was raised to be lazier, and I am lazier than the great majority of people you see in China and India, for instance, who, it's no accident. You see these people taking double majors, their parents were rice farmers, and the kids are now in university, ferociously competitive. That's what it's about. The desire for a different life. We got that life already. So it's going to be hard to
dangerous competitors.
Well, they were already our landlords, so it's really you know what, in the world of the future, the more we intermarry with the Chinese, the more attractive our kids are going to be, as far as I'm saying. And we're definitely going to be eating better.
Right.
So how bad can it be?
Well, you could be one of those factory workers at Concom that hits that suicide net in a drunken leap off the top of the building. They have those nets all around the building to keep people from killing themselves. It could get rough. Have
you been to China?
No, never been.
You go to China, certain major chain hotels. Like you go to a Hilton in New York, it's like to my mind, it's not the greatest hotel ever. Okay, you go to a Hilton in Shanghai, it is fucking luxe. Okay, any chain hotel in Shanghai or Beijing, a Western chain hotel, the level of excellence and technical superiority required or expected there is so higher than in New York. They just at that level, the sort of people who would stay at one of these hotels in Shanghai are a lot richer and more demanding than their equivalent in New York. So the level of luxury and development that you see in places like China, where this is a dysfunctional government, you would think it's fucking they're communists, for fuck's sake. How come they've got this great rail system? How come their hotels are nicer than ours? How come internet coverage is better? How come I can get 5 bars on my cell phone anywhere in China? Like the deepest, darkest valley and like ass end of nowhere. You start to get this terrible. I'm an American. I'm a New Yorker. We're the greatest country in the world. I believe this absolutely and positively. But at the end of the day, it's like I just start thinking to myself, if that the New York subway system, to say that. That the New York City subway system is certainly not the best in the world. It's idiotic to pretend that it is,
Well, we held the crown somewhere 20, 30, whatever years ago it was, whatever it was, where we were the shining light of civilization. Was it 1970, whatever year it was?
But we still have like the great, the great weapons. We are the most powerful nation on earth, and I think largely based on the danger of our culture. People, when introduced to rock and roll, will eventually topple their governments, I think. It hasn't worked here, but abroad.
Wait till Rick Perry gets in office.
No, I think our great cultural, export has been, rock and roll, rap music. Clearly, it makes people want to, whatever it is they see, they kind of want, in one form or another, they kind of want some form of that.
So, in your experience in all these other countries, and when you see all these different, regimes getting toppled, you don't think there's any American influence in these things happening?
I don't think we're that good.
Really? You don't think the CIA is that good?
I'm a CIA nerd. I'm one of those like I'm not a gamer, but I'm a guy who about 25 years ago started reading up on the Kennedy assassination, got completely obsessed with that, and then I'm one of these guys, I read footnotes, and if a footnote leads me to another book. I disappeared down the rat hole for 10 years reading everything. So I'm really...
Did you ever read Best Evidence?
Yeah. My feeling is if history has taught us anything, and if you read all of the documents from all of the controversial periods of CIA operations, we just don't seem to be very good at these things. and everybody rats and writes a book about it immediately after it happened. So if it went well, you can be sure you'd be reading about it, or it would have been leaked to a magazine by now. So I don't think...
That's so sad.
I don't think we're that good. And I certainly don't think we have much of an appetite for controlling the universe. I think we're doing it. We seem to be working very hard to hold the dam.
So you think the speculation about the CIA being involved, like they're probably just very, very peripherally involved, and there's just shit happening no matter what?
I'm sure there are major CIA operations going on right now, without doubt. But I think this notion that there's an office somewhere where the whole fate of the world is sort of decided, what countries are going to invade over the next 10 years, we're just not that good, and we're definitely not that secure. There's always, if 3 people know about something. It's the greatest argument about the Kennedys. The 9/11 conspiracy theory idiots, the Kennedy assassination, Looney Tunes. If basically in this country, if more than 3 people know about a thing, one of them is going to be on the stand crying about it, the other guy's going to be writing a book about it, and maybe 2 guys will keep their mouths shut.
I think today, I don't think during the time of the Kennedy assassination it would have been that difficult to hide things. I think things were much less transparent back then than were today.
Yeah, but that's what's great about history. Eventually, if you're willing to wait around,
somebody
to my view, if you're willing to wait around, every boring, grim detail will eventually come out. And if you, as in the Kennedy assassination, someone, I don't know who said it. They described the mafia theory as the halfway house for failed conspiracy theorists. It's like after you've decided the CIA didn't do it,
the mafia
the FBI did it. It's like, it was the mafia, And there's all this great evidence to support that theory, but ultimately, I'm of the Oswald got a lucky shot
really
theory.
Wow.
No.
I read Best Evidence, and that's one of the reasons why I first started believing that there was some sort of a conspiracy. That was one of the first things that I saw that made me really reconsider. But later in life, the thing that really got me was the Northwoods document. If you've never heard of that, it's something that they drafted in the 1960s or 1960, where 61 or 62, where Kennedy actually vetoed it, and all the Joint Chiefs of Staff signed it, and they were going to have fake American terror attacks. We're going to get a plane. They were going to have a drone plane explode it and say a bunch of people died, and they were going to attack Guantanamo Bay, and they were going to arm Cuban friendlies to attack Guantanamo Bay because we wanted to go to war with Cuba.
This was this Cuban Missile Crisis era.
1962.
There were so many complete. See, this is what's interesting about Kennedy's assassination conspiracy. There was so much wacky shit going on around that time. So much of it embarrassing, criminal, scary, funny, really silly going on at that time. That, in fact, the least interesting thing about the entire, big picture of the Kennedy assassination is the actual assassination itself. Because what everybody else was up to at the time and covering up was just like right out of a movie. The CIA in his meeting with Johnny Rosselli and all these mafia guys to whack out Castro. There was just so much other embarrassing shit going on that in many ways those stories and where they lead are a lot more entertaining and complex and fun than a story of a guy shooting a president.
So if you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, what do you think about when you see the Oliver Stone movie? Does that drive you fucking crazy?
I would have liked the film a lot better if they just stuck with a historical record and he invented scenes and characters, which I thought was as a Kennedy assassination
the Donald Sutherland character didn't exist, right?
And there were just certain things were just do mention that the Garrison jury was out for like 30 seconds. Please mention that Jim Garrison is a man of many interesting local, a man with an interesting past. Let's put it that way.
In what way?
He did not a reputation that was debatable. Let's put it that way.
Which is never good.
The case was bad. I mean, he put a lot of very interesting stuff together, and all of it was like fascinating, and in a lot of ways, a lot of it was almost more interesting than there wasn't. I don't believe in the octopus theory. I think you had a lot of really interesting, very spooky characters who'd been doing a lot of really sinister and interesting shit for a long time. Whether or not they were actually involved in the Kennedy assassination is almost moot because they were up to some really other wacky stuff.
Did the magic bullet theory bother you at all?
I think if you talk, and I have talked to people who served in combat for a long time, the story of the buddy who gets around through the front of his helmet, it travels around subcutaneously around the skull and enters out the back without hurting the guy. Everybody's got
shit happens.
Shit happens. I'm willing to believe the magic bullet theory.
I would be willing to believe it, except for the fact that they came up with it because a guy got hit with a ricochet under the bridge, and so they had to attribute everything to 3 shots. And I was like, God, that seems like fucking shifty logic.
I don't know what they call it, but when you've eliminated all the other suspects, you're left with the likely truth, I think. And I to my satisfaction, anyway, I've kind of eliminated the other suspects.
Woody Harrelson's dad didn't have any part of it in the grassy knoll. Wasn't he like rumored to be one of the shooters?
It's
wasn't that part of it?
Yes, of course. Yeah. But Howard Hunt was supposed to be there. It's like, everybody's there. It's like Ronald McDonald is there.
Why is that so sexy? Why is it so sexy?
I wanted to believe it so badly.
Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, Kennedy, the whole deal.
Yeah.
It's way more fun to think that Lee Harvey Oswald was a patsy.
But remember, he was a really interesting guy. I think the book that got it most right, was a work of fiction, The Libra by Don DeLillo, where it really gets inside Oswald's head. I mean, Oswald was a guy who his favorite show as a teenager was I Led 3 Lives, about an undercover FBI agent. He was he was a spy junkie. In today's world, he would have been a gamer,
a nutty gamer.
He wanted to be. He was a guy who kind of wanted to be to do big things, and he tried very hard. He wanted to be super secret KGB agent. He wanted to be super secret. Wanted to be a Marine. He probably volunteered to the FBI a couple of times. He was just a guy who wanted to do something big. So I don't have a problem buying it.
So you had no problem with the allegations of them fixing autopsy photos?
I have problems with all of it because I was lost in it for 10 years. But the Kennedy family had very good reason to ask for, the brain. And I mean, he had Addison's disease, and the implications of Addison's disease towards the Kennedy history were not favorable. Apparently, I don't know, but apparently it has been said that he had multiple bouts of syphilis. This is... you don't want the family didn't want the president. People they didn't want this part of the record.
There was a lot of syphilis. Holla at your boy. Those are the days.
He took
being a president was worth it.
He took amphetamines in large doses at early at his point. Who knows what he's taking?
Did he really?
He had a Dr. Max Jacobson, I believe was the name. He did have a doctor who would shoot him with vitamin, I think B12 and amphetamine, according to one of the
B12 mixed with speed. That's how that dude was rolling.
Not uncommon at certain levels. It was a very
Sure.
society thing to do back then.
That's 5-hour energy drink. That's what it is. B12.
I think a lot of people didn't even know. He was the original doctor. He was known as Dr. Feelgood, and that's where the name came from. I believe it was Dr. Max Jacobson. I don't know. Legendary.
Wow.
Sort of doctor to the stars back in the Warhol.
And Kennedy's disease, what did it have to? Was it a motor skill thing? What is it?
That I don't. But apparently there are in the symptoms, the possible symptoms. I think there can be emotional content to the disease. So theoretically, it could have affected his judgment. It was unflattering. I believe he was in a lot of. This was a guy in a lot of pain too.
Yeah, supposedly, right? Yeah.
But back then, you just didn't want to talk about these things,
All right, everybody, we got pretty far today. Got the head and the shoulder and the bicep retopped. We're gonna finish it all. It's gonna be a late night stream because I gotta work from 3 to 9 at the university. But after that, I'll be online and working on this for probably 8 hours. And getting this done, dude. So, yeah, having a whole lot of fun with this and figuring all this shit out. It's definitely, there's definitely a lot to be desired on this connection to the arm, but that's fine. I'm gonna just work on materials and try to make up for it in other areas. But yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for all the help and all the love. It's greatly appreciated. So have a good night, and I will see y'all tomorrow.